Chapter 623. Located in the northern suburbs of Zhonghai, along the riverbank, was a relatively old and tidy building. In the midst of the trees and greenery, these houses were quiet and elegant. This was once the center of education in Zhonghai, but with the growth of the population, some schools moved to other places, and the few schools here were mostly some of the oldest schools in Zhonghai. They were sentimentally attached to this piece of land, so they never moved, nor did they build any new buildings. At the entrance of one of the high schools called Yulei, Boston creeper vines wrapped around the walls on both sides of the door, and a small cement path led to a few 4- or 5-story high school buildings that were yellowed. In this area, it was especially inconspicuous. At this time, the sun was setting in the west, and Yang Chung walked along a winding path paved with cobblestones, passing through a grape trellis, and slowly walked out of the school gate. An old security guard at the gate already had white hair on his temples, squinted his eyes, and asked with a smile, "Young man, did you find the teacher Tong you were looking for?" Yang Chung smiled and nodded, walked up, took out a cigarette, and handed it to the old security guard, and the old security guard did not hesitate to take it. Yang Chung took out a lighter, lit it for the old man, and then lit one for himself, then said, "Teacher Tong just finished class. I went to the office that brother mentioned. She is currently grading homework." "That's good. So you didn't come here for nothing." The old security guard was usually bored to death, and it was rare for someone to come to school to chat with him and politely hand him a cigarette. So naturally, he was very enthusiastic. "I still have to thank brother for your help. Otherwise, I would have to look for a lot of people, and I might not be able to find her immediately," Yang Chung said with gratitude. The old security guard said with a hint of pride, "Not to mention other things, I have worked in this school for almost 30 years. There's nothing I don't know. Asking me about things that happened more than 10 years ago, of course there is no problem." Then, Yang Chung and the old security guard talked about some of the past events in the school and some anecdotes. The old security guard talked until his saliva flew everywhere, but Yang Chung listened with great interest, word for word, because this was the high school that Lin Ruoshi used to study in. After Yang Chung found out from Mother Wang which schools Lin Ruoshi used to study in, he carefully searched, but unfortunately, the elementary and middle school that Lin Ruoshi used to study in had been merged into some big schools, and naturally, he could not find the original location of Lin Ruoshi nor the teachers that taught Lin Ruoshi. Fortunately, the old CEO of Yulei had personally invested in this Yulei High School. Although it wasn't very famous in Zhonghai, the quality of the teaching had always been good. However, because it was too old, not many people paid attention to it. Yulei International was a big company, and this kind of small investment was not unusual. Through the old security guard, Yang Chung found Lin Ruoshi's class teacher at that time, a female teacher with the surname Tong. This teacher was now getting on in years and no longer taught high-intensity grades like the third year, and began to retreat to the second line, teaching the first-year students. Therefore, on weekdays, she was not too busy. When Yang Chung found her, Teacher Tong was abnormally surprised, especially when she found out that Yang Chung was Lin Ruoshi's husband. Teacher Tong looked at Yang Chung with an incomparably stunned expression for a while. Although she did not say it, Yang Chung also clearly felt that this Teacher Tong was puzzled. This man was Lin Ruoshi's husband? Obviously, even after 7 or 8 years, in the heart of this teacher, the memory of Lin Ruoshi as a student was hard to erase. Yang Chung was already prepared. If you ran in front of her and said, "I am Lin Ruoshi's husband, and I want to know something about her school days," who would believe you without any proof? Moreover, for a rich woman like Lin Ruoshi, there were many people who wanted to get close to her. Therefore, under the suspicious gaze of Teacher Tong, Yang Chung took out his marriage certificate with Lin Ruoshi. Teacher Tong could not tell if this certificate was real or fake, but when Yang Chung talked about Lin Ruoshi's background and said that Mother Wang introduced him, Teacher Tong basically believed it. There was still some time before school ended, so Yang Chung followed Teacher Tong and wandered around the school, listening to the teacher talk about the past. This was the first time Yang Chung spent so much time listening to a person's past. For almost 2 hours, Yang Chung looked like he was looking at flowers on horseback, seeing the scenes that happened in and out of the school. In the scenes, There was a different Lin Ruoshi, or rather, a Lin Ruoshi that he did not understand. Yang Chung was a little reluctant, but it was almost time for Teacher Tong to get off work, and he had other things to do, so he said goodbye to her. Before he left, Yang Chung asked the old gardener, "Ruoshi has not returned to school for so many years. Will teacher feel sad?" Teacher Tong smiled warmly. "I have taught thousands of students. If all of them came back to see me, I would only see customers all day, and I wouldn't have to go to work. Now that I know that Ruoshi is the CEO of Yulei, compared to many students, I feel very satisfied that there is no news of her. With her personality, if she came back to see me, I would be surprised." Yang Chung was quite touched, and he regretted that he did not have a student's time. Perhaps this teacher was a very strict woman in the past, but at this moment when she talked about her past students, she was like a loving mother. With these vicissitudes of thought, Yang Chung chatted with the old security guard for a while, and when he heard the school bell ring, he said goodbye to the security guard. The old security guard even warmly shook hands with Yang Chung, looking forward to Yang Cheng's next visit. Yang Chung smiled bitterly in his heart. This old brother is really bored. Walking to the parking area, Yang Chung took out his keys and was about to get on the car to go home, but he did not think that from the corner of his eyes, he would catch a glimpse of a familiar figure. He saw a beautiful figure wearing a white dress, light-colored denim tight pants, riding a woman's bicycle with a basket, slowly passing by on the sidewalk. Black hair fluttered in the wind. Looking from the side, there was a faint smile on her face. It was actually Zhao Hongyan, whom he had not seen for a long time. "Hongyan," Yang Chung shouted out, feeling a little surprised, as if a good friend that he had not seen for many years had appeared. He could not hide his joy. Zhao Hongyan was riding the bicycle, and when she heard this voice, she hurriedly braked and looked back. She was stunned at first. Then she smiled sweetly and said, "Yang Chung, why are you here?" Yang Chung walked forward, and Zhao Hongyan also got off the bicycle. The two of them had known each other for almost a year, and their relationship in the company was quite good. Not to mention the intimate contact that seemed real and fake. Just the matter of helping Zhao Hongyan get away from her abnormal in-laws made the two of them much closer. It was also because of those things that when they met again, there was an inexplicable feeling between them. Yang Chung looked at the basket on Zhao Hongyan's bicycle, which was full of vegetables and meat, and asked, "You went to buy vegetables?" "Yeah." Zhao Hongyan smiled and nodded. "You still don't know, right? My house is nearby. But why did you come out of Yulei High School?" Then Zhao Hongyan suddenly remembered something and said, "Oh right, that day in General Lin's office, we talked about my family. Could it be that you accompanied General Lin back to her alma mater?" That day, Lin Ruoshi invited Zhao Hongyan into the office to help her pay for her father's medical expenses. The condition was that she had to work for the company for 10 years and pay half of her salary. This matter did not happen too long ago, and Yang Chung remembered it very clearly. Now that Zhao Hongyan mentioned it, Yang Chung remembered his previous doubts. "I did have something to do, so I came over myself." "But didn't you say that you would sign a 10-year contract with the company? Why did you suddenly come back home? Did something happen to Uncle's illness again?" Zhao Hongyan shook her head. "No, my father received a kidney back then, and with the medical expenses that General Lin lent to our family, he has more or less recovered and can move around normally now. It's just that my father's health isn't as good as before, and he needs someone to take care of him. Also, our family's meatball shop can operate normally with my father around. I can go home to help out, and I can earn more money than working in the company. It'll also be easier to repay the company's debts. I've reported this to Sister Mingyu and General Lin, and they agreed to my plan." Hearing Zhao Hongyan say this, Yang Chung was relieved. Although the medical expenses were millions, the money could be earned back, and it was good that the person was fine. But after that, he did not know what to say to Zhao Hongyan. The two of them had not seen each other for a long time, and it was a little awkward to suddenly be alone together after talking about their relationship. Zhao Hongyan was silent for a while, then pursed her lips and smiled. "How about it? Since you're here, let me bring you to my family's meatball shop. Our family's glutinous rice meatballs are an ancestral recipe, and they taste really good. Yang Cheng was delighted. That's right. How could he forget that Lin Ruoshi liked glutinous rice meatballs? Also, she had mentioned before that she really liked Zhao Hongyan's meatballs. This time, he would bring some back, and it would definitely be effective. Therefore, Yang Cheng did not stand on ceremony. He let Zhao Hongyan lead the way, and he drove slowly to her family's meatball shop. Zhao Hongyan's family's meatball shop was decorated in a simple and unadorned manner, with Zhao's glutinous rice meatballs written on the sign. Beside it were some words describing the history of the old shop. Although these rather fashionable food shops were not very eye-catching, there were many customers lining up outside. Business was surprisingly good. We have to line up to buy glutinous rice meatballs? This was the first time Yang Cheng saw such a situation. He had not seen such a scene when he went to the place where Lin Ruoshi bought glutinous rice meatballs. Zhao Hongyan said proudly, "Nowadays, the children haven't finished school. When they finish school, they can line up across the road. Our family always runs out of ingredients in the end." Yang Cheng was secretly speechless. No wonder Lin Ruoshi could not forget about it. It seemed that she really had standards. There were many people outside, so Zhao Hongyan went directly to the shop and greeted her busy father and brother. She said that she brought a friend over and needed to entertain them. The two men smiled politely at Yang Cheng, but unfortunately, they had no time to care about Yang Cheng. Business was chaotic, so they could only invite Yang Cheng to the back for a cup of tea. Yang Cheng followed Zhao Hongyan to the back of the meatball shop. In the living room of the two-story building where the family lived, Zhao Hongyan brewed a pot of tea for Yang Cheng. Then, she brought a small plate of delicately made glutinous rice meatballs from the shop in front and placed it on the coffee table. Try these flavors. They are our family's most classic meatballs. If you like them, bring some back later. Remember to bring some for General Lin. Zhao Hongyan seemed to be in a good mood as she enthusiastically recommended. Yang Cheng looked at the white, yellow, and green glutinous rice meatballs in front of him. Before he even ate it, he could already smell the natural fragrance. He immediately tasted them in big mouthfuls. The glutinous rice fragrance spread in his mouth, but it did not stick to his teeth. The bean paste and soybean fillings were also sweet, but not greasy. Yang Cheng was once again sure that Sister Lin was definitely a foodie. He fell in love with the glutinous rice meatballs the moment he ate them. "How is it?" Zhao Hongyan asked expectantly. Yang Cheng finished all the meatballs and gave her a thumbs up as he chewed. "It's really not bad. I believe that the business outside is really good, and it's not because of the extras your family hired." F*CKU. How can you praise people like this? Zhao Hongyan scoffed and smiled. "Since you like it, bring more back later. Although there aren't enough ingredients, you have to save it for a friend." Yang Cheng licked his lips and revealed a flattering smile. "Hongyan, let me ask you something." "Go ahead. Your meatballs, can they be customized?" "What do you mean?" Zhao Hongyan was puzzled. Yang Cheng scratched the back of his head and said, "I want your father and brother to help me make some meaningful glutinous rice meatballs. It's nothing special. I just want to make some small changes to your family's glutinous rice meatballs. It's useful to me." Zhao Hongyan was puzzled but still nodded. "That's not difficult. It's just some decorative meatballs. My father's cooking is definitely not a problem. But why do you have to play tricks when eating meatballs?" Sigh. Yang Cheng sighed. Although Zhao Hongyan was not his woman, she could be considered half a confidant. "I want to use the meatballs to redeem myself with my wife. Of course, I have to make it special." "Your wife?" Zhao Hongyan frowned. Although she knew that Yang Cheng had a wife, that was all she knew. At this moment, a trace of shock flashed in her eyes, and she hesitantly asked, "You can't be saying that your wife is actually, so you don't know?" Yang Cheng thought about it carefully. Zhao Hongyan really did not know that he and Lin Ruoshi were husband and wife. In the entire company, probably only Mo Qianni and Lu Mingyu knew about it. He said in relief, "You're right. In fact, Ruoshi and I have been married for a long time. It's just that we haven't made it public." Zhao Hongyan stared blankly for a long time before she rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. Many things that she did not understand in the past now made sense. "Fortunately, I did not let General Lin down, Zhao Hongyan subconsciously murmured. Yang Qing listened carefully and asked with a smile, "What are you fortunately about? How did you let him down?" Zhao Hongyan's pretty face blushed. She gritted her teeth and glared at Yang Cheng. When she said that there were no feelings between men and women between her and Yang Cheng, it would be a lie. Now that she thought about it, if she really had a relationship with Yang Cheng, wouldn't she be ungrateful to Lin Ruoxi, her great benefactor? Since you married such a good woman like General Lin, you should be satisfied. In the past, in the company, you still hung out with women like us. It's really hateful, Zhao Hongyan said angrily, but her heart was a little sour. If she knew that this man was not ordinary, she would be very curious about what kind of woman he would marry. If she knew that it was Lin Ruoxi, she might not even have the slightest bit of hope. In fact, Yang Cheng was only trying to ease the awkwardness between them. When he first came into contact with Zhao Hongyan, he was still in a contractual relationship with Lin Ruoxi. Therefore, being close to a beauty became a kind of pleasure. He and Zhao Hongyan had touched and kissed. In fact, something should have happened a long time ago. It was just that after he went to Yulei Entertainment and Zhao Hongyan resigned and left, it became like this today. Yang Cheng didn't dare to say that he didn't have any feelings for Zhao Hongyan, but he definitely wouldn't fall in love with this woman. In addition, his emotional lines were already a mess, so it was better to maintain a safe distance. Because the shop was in a busy period, Yang Cheng wanted to order some balls, but he could only wait until the peak period was over. In this way, it was impossible to end before dinner time, so Zhao Hongyan asked Yang Cheng to stay at home for dinner. Yang Cheng didn't stand on ceremony and readily agreed. He also called home and told Mother Wang that he was visiting an old friend and wouldn't be home for dinner. It wasn't until more than an hour later when the crowd of students receded that Zhao Hongyan's father, Elder Zhao, had the time to make a few special balls for the guest, Yang Cheng. When Yang Cheng said his request, Elder Zhao obviously couldn't react. He was stunned on the spot, thinking that he had heard wrong. Zhao Hongyan, on the other hand, didn't look like a lady at all. She seemed to think that Yang Cheng's idea was too strange. Yang Cheng's face was serious as he held Elder Zhao's wrinkled hands tightly and said sincerely, "Uncle Zhao, you have to save this junior's life. My family's happiness in the future depends on your balls." Although it sounded weird, Elder Zhao still agreed. When Elder Zhao went to make the balls, Yang Cheng felt his phone vibrate. He took it out and saw that it was Qiang Wei. He remembered that he asked Qiang Wei to take care of Jinxiu and investigate Zhao Yinyan's background. There should be a situation, so he quickly picked up the phone. Chapter 624. Who would have thought that just as he picked up the phone, before Yang Cheng could ask anything, Qiang Wei would excitedly say, "Hubby, I love you to death. How did you do it?" So the Army and Special Forces are willing to listen to you. This is going to be a good show to watch. Yang Cheng pulled out his phone. Qiang Wei had always been quiet. For her to be so excited, it was probably because something had happened in the underworld. You're already so old, don't exaggerate so much. If others hear you, they won't be so reserved. This speaks slowly. What happened? Yang Cheng frowned and smiled helplessly. Qiang Wei snorted a few times, then asked doubtfully, "Why don't you know, hubby? Didn't you do the White Wolf Gang?" White Wolf Gang. Yang Cheng thought for a moment and roughly understood the situation. He chuckled. "What? Something happened to the White Wolf Gang." Qiang Wei only thought that Yang Cheng really didn't know, so she roughly explained the situation of the White Wolf Gang. It turned out that in the morning, the headquarters of the White Wolf Gang in the Su province had been surrounded and annihilated by the military. Moreover, they had even sent out special forces stationed in the Su province to carry out an armed siege. The backbone of the White Wolf Gang had no idea why the country would suddenly swing a thunderous butcher's knife. They didn't even have time to react before they were caught off guard. What shocked the government of Su province even more was that the National Supervisory Department had also arrested more than 10 high-ranking officials in Su province, listing out many crimes that had not been made public for many years. Originally, there were many experts in the White Wolf Gang, and they wouldn't surrender so easily. However, the strength of the Special Forces soldiers that had been sent down this time had far exceeded their expectations. Moreover, there was no warning at all, which was why they were defeated. The White Wolf Gang is now completely finished. The reason why they can grow so big is because the Zhou family and many officials in the Su province are in cahoots with them. This time, the Zhou family has fallen and the military has intervened. The White Wolf Gang is powerless to reverse the situation. Qiang Wei chuckled and said, Su province is going to be in chaos in the future. This time, it will be much easier for me to take care of those small fries. Yangcheng wasn't too surprised. He was just surprised that the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade was so efficient and had such a short time to think. He half threatened and half negotiated for the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade to punish the White Wolf Gang. He believed that the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade also knew that his request wasn't too much. After all, compared to him making a mess of things, there was at least no harm in getting rid of a local underworld organization. Although it would be chaotic for a while, it would also help to improve the people's livelihood and build a better image for the government. Qiang Wei was extremely excited about this matter. In addition to being able to go straight to Su province and occupy a large amount of territory that originally belonged to the White Wolf Gang, it was also because of the pleasure of revenge. Back then, when the White Wolf Gang beat her up, she said that it was nothing, but she definitely wasn't happy. After all, she had been in hiding for such a long time. It wasn't easy for her to go out and show her face, but she was beaten up in front of her subordinates. Anyone would be embarrassed. Yangcheng listened to Qiang Wei's many thoughts. In the end, he could only smile and say, You can think about what you like to do. You don't have to report to me. But what if I make a mistake and something goes wrong? The situation in Su province is very tense now. Qiang Wei said hesitantly. Yangcheng said directly, If something happens, I'll help you solve it. Qiang Wei was silent for a while, then chuckled and said, Hubby, you're spoiling me like this. It's wrong. I like it. It's none of your business, Yangcheng said. Zhao Hongyan had been watching Yangcheng answer the phone. Although she didn't know what Yangcheng was talking about, there was no doubt that the other party was a very close woman. When she heard Yangcheng say such words, she couldn't help but feel a little sad in her heart. If she didn't have that unbearable marriage, perhaps she would still have a chance to find a man who could also spoil her like that. Qiang Wei, who had been chatting and laughing for a while, also remembered the investigation that Yangcheng had asked her to do. Speaking of Jiao Yinyin, Qiang Wei couldn't hide her joy. Hubby, the delinquent girl named Jiao Yinyin that you asked me to investigate is quite a coincidence. Guess which organization she is from? Could it be the White Wolf Gang? Yangcheng said with a smile. Yes, it's true. Qiang Wei said, The leader of the White Wolf Gang is an old man in his 50s called Jiao Baiyang. He has many lovers, but those lovers don't like him, so Jiao Baiyang keeps them separately. Jiao Yinyin is his youngest daughter, and she happens to be studying in Zhonghai. Many outsiders don't know that she is Jiao Baiyang's daughter. Speaking of which, Jiao Baiyang is quite farsighted. Being in the underworld, it's hard to guarantee that he won't have any descendants. He separated his children in different places. Even if he failed miserably, he wouldn't have his fire seed extinguished. Yangcheng didn't expect this. No wonder Jiao Yinyin was so rude and unreasonable, but she didn't do much. Although her father was the leader of the White Wolf Gang, she was just one of the illegitimate daughters and was not under the jurisdiction of the White Wolf Gang. After Jiao Yinyin received the news from the school today, she left the school. A few of Jiao Baiyang's henchmen took them away. I've been monitoring their movements. It's up to you whether you want to catch them or not. Qiang Wei said. Yangcheng thought for a while and said, Forget it. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Even if we don't touch them, they won't have a good life. Leave the bad guys to others. Of course, Qiang Wei didn't have any objections. There were a lot of things to do next. There is no need to be cruel to a mother and daughter who had no one to rely on. After the conversation with Qiang Wei, dinner at Zhao Hongyan's house was about to start. Zhao Hongyan seemed to have something on her mind and didn't say much. Yangcheng was quite open and drank and chatted with Elder Zhao and Zhao Hongyan's brother. Elder Zhao's body was much better and his face was red. He felt a burst of regret. It was because of him that his daughter couldn't have a good husband. If he hadn't been sick and his daughter hadn't married that man surnamed Yu, how good would it have been? The young man in front of him was very much to his liking. However, when he learned that Yang Cheng was already married, Elder Zhao didn't think about it anymore. The old man's thinking was very simple. No matter how good a married man was, he couldn't touch him. After eating, Elder Zhao personally brewed a pot of green tea. He had heard from Lin Ruoxi that this old man's tea skills were extraordinary. Yang Cheng watched the ordinary purple sand tea set in the old man's hands lightly and dexterously until a cup of rich and fragrant tea was placed in front of him. He was greatly amazed. The old man's tea skills seemed to be very simple, but Yang Cheng wasn't an ordinary person. He cultivated martial arts and now had a deeper understanding of it. He had a much broader view of the word Tao than others. Although the tea ceremony and martial arts seemed to have nothing to do with each other, Yang Cheng could clearly sense that the old man was immersed in a certain field while making tea. In ancient times, there was an old oil seller who said, "Practice makes perfect." Everything that reached a profound level couldn't be separated from a deep state. There are 3,000 great Taos, but they all lead to the same destination. Zhao Hongyan heard Yang Cheng muttering something while looking at the teacup. She frowned and asked, "Why aren't you drinking?" "My father rarely makes tea for people." Yang Cheng came back to his senses. He smiled and slowly sipped the tea in the cup. The sweet taste made him exclaim in admiration, "Elder Zhao, your glutinous rice balls and tea are so magical. It's a waste of your talent to just open a small shop here. Why don't you think of a plan to make it big?" Yang Cheng suddenly thought of something and suggested. Elder Zhao sighed and said, "Yang Cheng, I've thought about what you said, but our family's glutinous rice balls are an ancestral skill and recipe. If we sell it, it'll be disrespectful to our ancestors. But if we want to make it big, we'll need a lot of money to open a shop, not to mention hiring people. Our family doesn't have that much money to make capital." Zhao Hongyan said with slight sadness, "Previously, when my father was in good health, there were also companies that wanted to buy our family's glutinous rice ball recipe and pay to help us open a shop. But our family's unique skill can't be sold, and they don't want to just invest in dividends, so the matter has been delayed." Yang Cheng touched his nose and thought to himself, ordinary people wouldn't want to open a glutinous rice ball shop without asking for the core skill of making glutinous rice balls. But some people might not. For example, Sister Lin, who loves glutinous rice balls as much as her life. Yang Cheng didn't say it out loud. He chatted with the Zhao family for a while and said goodbye to them. Of course, he didn't forget to ask for Elder Zhao's weird rice balls before he left. It was almost 10 p.m. When Yang Cheng reached home. He was thinking about how to use the glutinous rice balls to please Lin Ruoxi and apologize to her. At the same time, he was thinking about how to help Zhao Hongyan's family expand the shop. When he entered the living room, he saw Guo Xiuhua and Mother Wang watching the new Korean drama, but he didn't see Lin Ruoxi. He asked, puzzled, "Mom, why isn't Ruoxi watching with you?" Guo Xiuhua didn't have time to turn her head and said directly, "You're still thinking about your wife. Ruoxi didn't go home for dinner. She's still working overtime at the company." Yang Cheng was stunned and sighed. It seemed that Lin Ruoxi didn't want to go home to see him. But in fact, he didn't go home for dinner. Why did she bother? Yang Cheng decided to go to the company to deliver the glutinous rice balls in person. That might be more sincere. However, after running around for a day, Yang Chen's face was covered in dirt. He hurriedly ran back upstairs, intending to take a shower and change his clothes. He wanted to look clean and fragrant before meeting Sister Lin. When he walked past Shinchio's room, he saw that the light was still on. The girl should still be studying, so Yang Cheng didn't ask about the school. When he came to the room, he took off his clothes and opened the huge wardrobe. When he opened it, he was dumbfounded. Chapter 625. He saw that all the clothes in his wardrobe were gone, and not a single one was left. The clothes in the wardrobe were all brand new. There were all kinds of clothes, short sleeves, long sleeves, pure cotton, mercerized cotton, linen, and even silk pajamas. They were all neatly arranged. Just like before, all the clothes were world-class famous brands. This wardrobe would cost at least 2 to 3 million yuan. Since he did not take the clothes from the wardrobe when he took a shower last night, he took the ready-made ones by the bedside. Yang Cheng did not know when these clothes were put in the wardrobe. Yang Cheng scratched his head in confusion. He walked out of the door and went to the staircase. He asked Mother Wang, who was sitting on the sofa, "Mother Wang, why did I change all my clothes?" Mother Wang looked up with a puzzled expression. "They were changed the day before yesterday. Why did you only see them now?" "Indeed, they were changed long ago." Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. "Why did you change your clothes all of a sudden?" "Miss asked someone to send them over the day before yesterday. Since you weren't home that day, Miss said that it was summer, so she changed your clothes into something cooler. I even helped Miss hang them up. It took a lot of effort," Mother Wang said with a smile. Yang Cheng was stunned at the staircase, speechless. "Did Lin Ruoshi buy the clothes for me? Or did she help me hang them up? She even thought of changing clothes for me when the season changed? And the day before yesterday, when she helped me hang up my clothes, I was at Lu Mingyu's place and did not return for the whole night. And yesterday, I misunderstood that she sent someone to follow Emo Chinny." Yang Cheng's heart was filled with a warm current and an extremely bitter coldness. He found it difficult to breathe. When a person's emotions reach the extreme, no matter how high their cultivation was, it was difficult to calm down. Whenever he thought of how Lin Ruoshi helped him hang up his clothes one by one, Yang Cheng's eyes would feel hot, and his heart would feel like it was being pricked by needles. "Silly woman, what did you turn me into?" Yang Cheng sighed bitterly in his heart and returned to his room. After a quick shower, Yang Cheng changed into a new set of clothes and left the house with the meatballs. Guo Shuahua and Mother Wang did not ask much. They just looked at each other and smiled. At the top of the Yulin International Building, the CEO's office was brightly lit, as if there was no night here. Behind the huge office desk, Lin Ruoshi was engrossed in flipping through the various documents on the computer screen. There wasn't the slightest trace of emotion on her cold face. She was like a cold and elegant ice sculpture, tireless and tireless. The assistant, Wu Yu, was wearing an old-fashioned suit. She walked into the office with a cup of black coffee on the tray in her hand. The rich aroma immediately filled the office. Wu Yu's eyes were filled with worry. She placed the coffee on the table lightly. "Come in, General Lin. It's almost 11:30. You haven't had dinner yet. How about—" Wu Yu's eyes were filled with worry. She gently placed the coffee on the desk. "Mr. Lin, it's almost 11:30. You haven't had dinner yet. How about—" Wu Yu did not dare to say much. She frowned and sighed softly. She turned around and was about to leave. After a few steps, Lin Ruoshi said softly from behind, "Go home. You don't need to be on duty anymore." Wu Yu paused. A rare smile appeared on her face. She turned around and shook her head. "It's okay. I'm General Lin's assistant. If General Lin doesn't get off work, of course I have to stay outside." Wu Yu paused. A rare smile appeared on her face. She turned around and shook her head. "It's okay. I'm General Lin's assistant. If General Lin doesn't get off work, of course I have to stay outside. If I ask you to get off work, then get off work. Do you think you've been in this job for too long and want to transfer?" This time, Lin Ruoshi's tone was a little more serious. Wu Yu was not angry at all. She looked at Lin Ruoshi helplessly. "I'll be leaving then. General Lin, you should go home and rest early too. Go ahead." Wu Yu did not stay any longer. After a whole day of work, it would be a lie to say that she was not tired. She, an assistant, was already so tired. It was hard for her to imagine how the woman in the office, who was also her senior in university, could last until so late. She did not seem to have the slightest intention of relaxing. Back when she was in university, she met Lin Ruoshi for the first time on the path of the campus. She was carrying a book to class. Under the shade of the trees, the woman in a white dress with black hair was as beautiful as a fairy under the warm sunlight. Wu Yu would never forget this woman. Like many men and women in university, it was hard for her to believe that there was a woman in this world who could make others not feel the slightest bit of comparison purely based on appearance. After a long time, many students also talked about Lin Ruoshi, and only then did they know about Lin Ruoshi's background. From then on, although she was 1 year lower than Lin Ruoshi, We had always been paying attention to the most dazzling girl in the university. When Lin Ruashi dropped out of her master's degree and came to ULA to take over as the CEO, Wu Yu was still worried about her in school. In the end, Wu Yu gave up her master's degree and came to ULA to apply for a job as Lin Ruashi's assistant. Wu Yu had always been confused. Why did Lin Ruashi not choose so many masters, doctoral, and even talented people who could directly become executives in other companies? Instead, she, a fresh graduate from university, had chosen her. Even though her grades were excellent, it was not enough for her to directly be the CEO's assistant of a multinational corporation. Before that, Wu Yu had never spoken to Lin Ruashi. She clearly remembered that the first time she had a formal conversation with Lin Ruashi, she had asked Lin Ruashi why she had chosen her as her assistant. "I've seen you in school. You ran for the president of the student council." That speech was not bad. This was the answer given by Lin Ruashi. It was very short, and there was not even a fluctuation in her tone. But Wu Yu immediately shed hot tears. Wu Yu had carefully prepared that speech for more than a month. She had practiced and revised it repeatedly, but in the end, she had lost. In the end, she could only hide in her bed and cry silently, as if she had been forgotten by everyone. But the person she had always looked up to remembered her. She recognized her. Since then, Wu Yu did not have any apprehension or fear. She quickly became competent as an assistant. Many people in the company did not like her old-fashioned look, but she did not care at all, because as long as she could satisfy Lin Ruashi, that was enough. Wu Yu walked out of the office and gently closed the door. After Wu Yu left, Lin Ruashi raised her head and looked in the direction of the office door. She was in a daze for a while. Lin Ruashi let out a long sigh. She touched her forehead and closed her eyes. From morning to midnight, she had worked at least 12 hours. Not to mention anything else, just looking at the computer screen could make people dizzy. All of this was no longer a special situation for her. All these years, she had supported such a huge business empire by herself. If she did not spend time, no one would spend it for her. Looking at the time on the computer, it was indeed 11:30. Lin Ruashi touched her abdomen. Because of the stomach acid, she felt a little uncomfortable. Involuntarily, she felt wronged. If it was not because she did not want to see someone, she would not have to work overtime in the company and not go home for dinner. At the very least, she could do this work in the study when she got home. Logically speaking, she could ask Wu Yu to bring some food in. But if the dignified CEO ate dry food alone in the office, how embarrassing would it be if others knew? She still had to consider the face of her boss. At this time, even if she went home, she would be too embarrassed to eat. She did not dare to go out to eat supper alone. All of this, it was that cruel man's fault. Lin Ruashi bit her lips angrily. Looking at the black coffee that was still warm on the side, Lin Ruashi did not have the slightest interest in drinking it. She shook her head and was about to continue reading when she heard a knock on the office door. Lin Ruashi could hear that it was not Wu Yu. She immediately became alert and asked vigilantly, "Who is it?" Her finger had already pressed the alarm button under the desk. The door was opened, and Yang Chung poked his head out with a shan-shan smile. "Baby Ruashi, of course it's me. Why are you not home so late? I'm here to pick you up." Seeing that it was Yang Chung, Lin Ruashi did not hesitate and said coldly, "Get out." Chapter 626. Yang Chung had just taken half a step in when he was pushed back by the cold current. He awkwardly said, "Ruashi, I know you're still angry with me. Let's talk. I know I've wronged you. I don't have time to talk to you. Get out. Do you want me to lock the door myself?" Lin Ruashi said without any trace of politeness. Yang Chung didn't dare to be thick-skinned. If he acted shamelessly at this time, it would be adding oil to the fire. He could only bitterly leave and close the door. Lin Ruashi gritted her teeth. Her eyes had a complicated look. When she saw Yang Chung coming over, she didn't know if it was hatred, joy, or something else. She stared at the door in a daze. After a few seconds, Lin Ruashi heard movement again. But this time, the movement came from behind her. Bang, bang, bang. A series of heavy sounds came from the glass. Lin Ruashi suddenly stood up and turned around. She covered her mouth in surprise and almost screamed. She saw that behind her, outside the reinforced glass wall, Yang Cheng was standing on a small protrusion at the edge. One of his hands was holding a small protrusion, and the other was holding an oily paper bag. He was grinning at her through the glass window. One must know that this was the top floor of a building that was over 100 meters tall. The night wind whistled, and the cold air was biting cold. Lin Ruoxi didn't have the time to think about how Yang Cheng got outside. She only needed to think about how Yang Cheng's hands and feet trembled, and he might fall 100 meters. Her heart was in her throat. If she didn't know that Yang Cheng was different from ordinary people, and his skills were abnormally terrifying, Lin Ruoxi would have fainted from fright. "Are you crazy? What are you doing there?" Lin Ruoxi said angrily. She looked around. She remembered that there was a window that could be opened. Maybe she could let Yang Cheng enter the office from there. There was a thick tempered glass in the middle. So how could she hear what they were saying? Yang Cheng opened his mouth and mouthed, "Follow me home." Lin Ruoxi was about to faint. Was there a need for this man to call her home in this way? Was she going to stay in the office for the rest of her life? At this moment, Lin Ruoxi finally found the glass window that could be opened. Although there was a short distance between her and Yang Cheng, she should be able to reach it with small steps. Thus, she immediately ran over and opened the glass window. Lin Ruoxi exerted all her strength to push open the tightly shut glass window. She immediately felt a gust of cold air engulfing the entire office. Squinting her eyes, she stuck her head out and said to Yang Cheng, who was lying on the ground outside the window, "Throw that thing in your hand away. Hurry up and come in." Yang Cheng chuckled and said, "I knew it. Darling Ruoxi still wants me. However, I can't throw this thing away." As he spoke, Yang Cheng's toes tapped lightly. His body seemed to have a predetermined route as he spun in the air and landed outside the window in front of Lin Ruoxi. This scene was like a godly high-altitude stunt. Lin Ruoxi was stunned speechless. Yang Cheng leaned against the window and winked at Lin Ruoxi. "Do you want to come out with me to get some air and look at the stars?" Lin Ruoxi rolled her eyes at him. "You're crazy. Come in." She finally understood that Yang Cheng didn't care about such a small matter. Yang Cheng's romantic proposal was rejected. He shrugged his shoulders and jumped onto the carpet in the office. After locking the glass window again, Lin Ruoxi walked back to the desk and sat down. Without looking at Yang Cheng, she said, "I still have to work. Please leave." Yang Cheng followed her to the desk and placed the paper bag in front of Lin Ruoxi. He smiled and said, "It's fine if you want to work, but you have to eat. If I want to eat, I'll eat. If I don't want to eat, I won't eat. It's none of your business." Lin Ruoxi said coldly. Yang Cheng wasn't in a hurry. He knew that this woman wouldn't be so easy to talk to. He slowly pulled over a leather chair and sat beside Lin Ruoxi. He turned his face and stared at Lin Ruoxi. Lin Ruoxi subconsciously avoided it. Being stared at by Yang Cheng, she felt a little uncomfortable and couldn't read the documents naturally. She couldn't help but frown and ask, "What are you looking at?" "Ruoxi, you like green, pink, and lemon yellow, but you like to wear black clothes, right?" Yang Cheng suddenly asked. Lin Ruoxi looked at the man, not knowing what was going on. "I like all kinds of flowers and plants, but my favorite is gardenia and wisteria. But because I'm afraid of bees, I don't dare to go near flowers. Listening to music, no matter what kind of music it is, if I don't speak, I will fall asleep in less than 5 minutes. I failed every music class in high school. His favorite movie was Moulin Rouge. He didn't dare to watch horror movies. As long as others talked about ghosts, he would hide far away. He would even pretend to be doing something else and refuse to admit that he was afraid. He especially hated sports. Other than running at the beginning of every physical education class, he didn't do anything else. He had a grudge with the physical education teacher because the physical education teacher would always find you from your hiding place. The school required you to wear the school uniform, but you refused to wear it, causing the class to be deducted points every 3 to 5 days. In the 3 years of high school, the class with you couldn't get the Excellence Award, and in the end, the teacher couldn't be bothered to educate you. Lin Ruoxi bit her lower lip and had already lowered her head. From the side, her face was bright red, and she was very embarrassed. You. Don't say any more. Lin Ruashi said softly. How did you know? Yang Cheng smiled easily. There's nothing to be shy about. I went to your former high school today and met your teacher Tong. She told me about you and even said that you've never returned to school since you graduated. TSK, TSK. Ruashi, darling, you're really cold to everyone. None of your business. At this moment, Lin Ruashi didn't have the slightest trace of coldness. Her hands kneaded the hem of her skirt, and she didn't dare to look straight at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng revealed a trace of pride. I also know something else. Teacher Tong said that when you were in your second year of high school, there was an especially handsome math teacher. For the first time, you took the initiative to take up a position in the class and be the math class representative. You're not allowed to say it. Lin Ruashi hurriedly stopped Yang Cheng. When she was a young girl who didn't have a bit of childish thoughts, even she was no exception. But in the current situation, Lin Ruashi felt her cheeks burning. This teacher Tong was really something. Why did she even mention the matter of the math teacher from back then? Wasn't it just that he was muddle-headed at that time? Now, who would fall for a man who pretended to be handsome? Furthermore, she had only been the class representative for half a semester, and then she directly quit. Yang Cheng giggled and said, What should I do? I still want to tell these things to Hui Lin and Jinxiu in the future. I want to tell them that your big sister Ruashi also had an unforgettable young girl's feelings. You're not allowed to tell them. Lin Ruashi's pretty face flushed red. She was about to go crazy. How could this man be so hateful? Yang Cheng clicked his tongue. It's fine if I don't say it, but you should obediently eat. Lin Ruashi turned her head to look at the paper bag on the table and gritted her teeth. I'll eat then. That's good, Yang Cheng said with a smile. Lin Ruashi ignored this rascal and sullenly opened the paper bag. She took out a brown box and looked at the packaging. Lin Ruashi felt that it was a little familiar. After thinking about it carefully, she suddenly realized that this was the meatball shop that she often ate in high school. It was the shop that Zhao Hongyan's family owned. That's right, this bad guy went to my high school today. He should have bought some meatballs from Zhao Hongyan's house. The resentment in her heart finally dissipated a little. Lin Ruashi glanced at Yang Cheng from the corner of her eye before opening the box. The moment she opened it, Lin Ruashi was stunned. The meatballs in front of her were all different. The reason why they were different was because on top of each meatball, there were different words outlined in red bean paste. 8 different colored round meatballs on top of each meatball were written, Old Granny, Lord, please forgive me. Lin Ruashi stared at them for a while before she turned her head and looked at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng smiled embarrassedly. For these meatballs, Zhao Hongyan's family laughed at me for being a henpeck husband. But you also know that I'm thick-skinned, so I shamelessly asked old Zhao to make these meatballs for me. The taste is different, but I haven't tried it before. I think you'll like it. Old Zhao said that you bought at most 20 on Fridays so that you could eat on Saturdays and Sundays. I think you can eat 8 of them without a problem. Seeing that Lin Ruashi was still staring at him without saying a word, Yang Cheng didn't know what went wrong. He turned around and smacked his forehead. Smiling, he said, I miscalculated. You're just feeling thirsty after eating like this, aren't you? You can't eat meatballs with coffee, and this is black coffee. How about I make you a pot of tea? No, tea is alkaline and not easy to digest. I'll go pour you a glass of water. Just as Yang Cheng was about to get up, he heard Lin Ruashi ask, why? Yang Cheng was stunned. Why what? Why did you do this for me? Lin Ruashi asked. Yang Cheng smiled in shame. I misunderstood you. That's very wrong. Moreover, I also heard that a husband and wife like us will not get along, to a large extent because I don't understand you. So I want to understand your past, not only your family relationship, but also when you were young, when you were at school. It's a pity that your primary school teacher can't be found. I'm really curious. Would you be so cold to others when you were young? Wouldn't that be especially interesting? Lin Ruashi was silent, as if she was thinking about something. Yang Cheng thought of something and smiled. Oh right, I still have to thank you. Remember to help me buy clothes for the season. However, I'm a bit of a cheap person. Actually, there's no need for me to wear 2 good clothes. Just give me some cheap clothes. With such a wardrobe of famous brands, I don't look like a celebrity when I'm dressed, so don't spend so much money. I know our family doesn't lack money, but you can use it to do other things. Didn't you want to buy a large number of entertainment industries? Having said that, Yang Chun walked to the water dispenser and poured himself a cup of warm water. He sat on the chair and passed it to Lin Ruashi with a smile. All right, you must be hungry. Hurry up and eat a meatball. I made it today, and it's very fresh. Lin Ruashi nodded calmly. She picked up a meatball and habitually pinched it with both hands. She brought it to her mouth and took a small bite. Chewing on the familiar taste, Lin Ruashi was absent-minded. From time to time, she would glance at the man beside her. After eating the first meatball, her stomach was no longer uncomfortable. Lin Ruashi took the cup of water from Yang Chung and took a sip. Continue eating. Even if you really want to work overtime, I won't stop you. But you have to eat your fill. Yang Chung said. Lin Ruashi didn't continue to take the meatball. Instead, she looked at Yang Chung with a complicated expression and asked, Yang Chung, do you really like me? Yang Chung froze for a moment, then asked with a smile, Why did you suddenly ask? Actually, the night before yesterday, after you suspected me of sending someone to follow Chinny, although I was very angry, I would also think, why would you suspect me so much? Lin Ruashi said in a clear voice, If we are really husband and wife, then does it mean that I am not that important in your heart when you suspect me of doing that kind of thing for another woman? Or you like others more than you like me? Yang Chung smiled bitterly. Are you still unhappy about that matter? It's just that things were too chaotic and I didn't think too much about it at the time, so I misunderstood you. This is completely different from whether I like you or not. Lin Ruashi shook her head, her eyes revealing sadness. It's not just because of this time, it's because there are too many conflicts between us. I really don't have much confidence anymore. Yang Chung restrained his expression and said seriously, Since you said that, then I'll tell you frankly. I don't like you. Yang Chung said in a serious tone. Lin Ruashi's eyes revealed a hint of sadness, and she was stunned, speechless. But in the next second, Yang Chung revealed a smile and said, But I love you. This time, Lin Ruashi didn't even have time to react. Her eyes met with Yang Cheng's, and she was completely lost in thought. Because I love you more than anyone else. That's why I care so much about your feelings and hope to obtain your forgiveness. That's why I hope that our marriage can continue. Do you understand? Yang Chung said sincerely. After a long while, Lin Ruashi's pretty face finally blushed. She turned her head away from Yang Chung, picked up the meatballs in the box, and continued to eat. As she ate, she asked, The gift you told me last time, it can't be these meatballs, right? Yang Chung was stunned and hurriedly shook his head. Of course not. I'm very serious about giving you a gift, but time is a bit tight. I still need some time to prepare the gift. Lin Ruashi nodded and said in a low voice, If your gift satisfies me, let's get married. Fortunately, Yang Cheng's hearing was good, so he could hear it clearly. However, after thinking about it, he asked doubtfully, Get married? Aren't we already legally married? Lin Ruashi turned her head, her pair of bright and watery eyes filled with shyness and resentment. She puffed her cheeks and said coquettishly, Idiot, don't tell me that you don't even have a wedding. You want me to follow you for the rest of my life? Chapter 6:27. Wedding? An electric current flashed through Yang Cheng's mind. He was stunned for a long time before he scratched his head and said with a silly smile, That's true. I forgot that we didn't hold a wedding. Hee hee. Lin Ruashi chewed on the glutinous rice ball and couldn't be bothered with this guy. How could he miss such an important part of his marriage? But Yang Chung suddenly felt that something was wrong. If he and Lin Ruashi were to hold a wedding, they would definitely invite guests. It was easy for him to do it. If they weren't friends or subordinates, there wouldn't be a problem. But if Lin Ruashi wanted to invite them, it would definitely include some of her close sisters and people from the company. Then there was a problem. If Mo Chinny, Lu Mingyu, and the Kai sisters were to attend their wedding, how was he going to face Mo Chinny and the other women? Lin Ruashi seemed to have seen through Yang Cheng's worries. She glanced at him with her beautiful eyes and said, Why? Are you not willing? Yang Chung hurriedly shook his head. I'm willing. Of course I'm willing. But does this mean that our relationship will be made public? Of course. Are we only going to get married at home? Lin Ruashi said. Yang Cheng thought that it was true. Lin Ruashi's move was really a temptation that was hard to resist. He couldn't say that he didn't want to hold a wedding with her. But once the wedding was held, everyone would know about their relationship. If he had any contact with other women, even if he was thick-skinned, how would the other women feel? Lin Ruashi continued. Of course, this matter can't be settled in a short time. I still have to see how the gift you prepared is. You can't fool me with glutinous rice balls again. Although I like to eat glutinous rice balls, I won't sell myself for them. Yang Cheng smiled at Shan Shan. In the past, he thought that this wife was actually quite cheap to please. How much did a few glutinous rice balls cost? But from the looks of it now, if he really ran into trouble, he would have to use his real capital. Lin Ruashi's eyes revealed a hint of slyness. When we first got married, I thought you were very poor, so I didn't expect you to do anything for me. As long as you don't cause me trouble, it's fine. But now that I know you're richer than I am, I'm going to raise my standards. Ordinary people have their own ways of living, and the rich have their own way of living. Just like the clothes I bought for you, it's not because I wanted to find some branded clothes for you, but because when I want to look for clothes, I would naturally choose the branded ones. It's a habit. I don't want to have a simple, but sincere wedding with you. I'm not some innocent little girl. Since I'm going to do it, of course, it has to fit my identity. Since you went to Hokkaido for that vixen Anshin, of course I won't be polite. I want limitless glory, but I also want true feelings. You decide. Yang Qing only felt that he had fallen into Lin Ruashi's palm. He was tightly grasped and couldn't resist at all. Speaking of which, his wife's request was really not too much. A wedding, no matter how grand it was, how much money would it cost? Then, when we get married, should we invite Qianni and the others? Yang Cheng asked in a low voice. Lin Ruashi nodded without hesitation and said with a smile, of course, not only Qianni, but also Anshin, Mingyu, and Xiangwei. By the way, do you have any other lovers? Call them all. I want to say hello to them one by one. They will definitely give us their sincere blessings. Don't you think so? Looking at Lin Ruashi's frosty eyes and the smile on her face that was as bright as a spring flower, it was especially chilling. Yang Cheng awkwardly rubbed the back of his head. How is this greeting? She's clearly looking for a target to deal with one by one. This topic couldn't be carried on like this. Yang Cheng felt that he had to think about it later, so he changed the topic. By the way, when I went to Hong Yin's house today, I saw that their rice balls were selling especially well, but they don't have the funds to expand the store. So I discussed with them whether we could invest in their meatballs and help them open a chain store. It would all be considered as shares. Lin Ruashi looked at Yang Cheng in surprise. You can actually think of doing business. Yang Cheng's face was bitter. Was he really so useless? He said, I saw that it's hard for Hong Yin to pay the medical fees, so I want to help them. At worst, we won't buy out their family's ancestral recipe. We'll help them invest in the store and then take the dividends from it. Don't you want to invest in a lot of entertainment and leisure industries? Those resorts, amusement parks, and there must be some snacks. Isn't glutinous rice balls one of the more popular snacks? Lin Ruashi nodded. That's a good suggestion, but we'll need Elder Zhao's approval first. After all, not everyone can make glutinous rice balls well. We'll need professional training for the taste and texture of the glutinous rice balls to have their own characteristics. Old Zhao has always been unwilling to cooperate with others because he doesn't trust those people. Are you sure we can do it? Others may not believe it, but Ruashi, babe, you're the savior of Hong Yin's family. Moreover, do you care about the money of a rice ball recipe? Yang Cheng smiled. Lin Ruashi nodded thoughtfully. Yang Cheng continued to instigate and said with longing, Ruashi, think about it. In the future, in every leisure area of Yulei International, your favorite glutinous rice ball store will be opened. The store will be decorated with pink and warm colors. The walls will be filled with pictures of Hello Kitties. There will be 2 huge plasma wall-mounted TVs playing your favorite Korean dramas all day long. The whole store will be filled with Korean words like Salong Hanyu and Oh Bar. Only Korean dramas will be played. No music will be played. No matter where you go to inspect, you can directly enter the glutinous rice ball store and eat all kinds of colorful and fresh glutinous rice balls. The taste will be the taste of your favorite Zhao family store. And as the CEO, you can still eat glutinous rice balls with everyone. It shows how close you are to the people. Everyone will say that you're approachable. It's killing two birds with one stone. Speaking up to this point, Lin Ruoshi had already forgotten to bite the glutinous rice ball in her hand. Her watery eyes were filled with sparkling stars. The yearning in her eyes was self-evident. After a while, Lin Ruoshi realized that she had lost her composure. She coughed and said with a slightly red face, "How the store is renovated is my business. Don't think that you know me very well. I'm a businesswoman. As long as it's legal and profitable, I naturally know how to do it. It's none of your business." Yang Qing knew that Lin Ruoshi had already been moved. So, he nodded and said, "Of course, I'm just giving my opinion. The main operation still depends on what you, the CEO, think." Lin Ruoshi said, "I'll send Mingyu over to talk to old Zhao's family. If it's successful, we'll simulate the feasibility and do market research. If there's no problem, then we'll recruit people and train them. We'll strive to open a chain store. If it's successful, then let's forget about Hong Yin's 1 million yen. It's not easy for her family, so just treat it as the funds to purchase their signboard," Yang Chung suggested. However, Lin Ruoshi immediately rejected it and said, "A debt is a debt, and it's disrespectful to Hong Yin if we find an excuse to erase it. What should be paid must be paid, not a single cent less. As for the other funds, we'll pay for it." Yang Cheng's lips twitched. In the end, wasn't this the same outcome? It's just that Lin Ruoshi was a principled person, and she wouldn't acknowledge her family. This series of conversations finally erased the barrier between the two of them once again. Yang Chen also let out a sigh of relief. Counting the days, it was almost time to go to Beijing as promised. So he mentioned, "Ruoshi, I might have to make a trip to Beijing in 2 days. There's something I need to do, so I'm letting you know in advance." "Beijing?" Lin Ruoshi asked. "Beijing? You're going home?" Yang Chung was stunned. Lin Ruoshi was naturally referring to the Yang family. He frowned. "No, I have something else to do." "Oh," Lin Ruoshi replied and continued eating her meatballs. "Don't you want to know who I'm going to Beijing with?" Yang Chung asked curiously. Lin Ruoshi shook her head. "I'll be upset if I know. It's better not to know. Anyway, you won't listen to me even if I tell you not to go." Yang Chung smiled. "Why are you so generous all of a sudden?" Lin Ruoshi glanced at the man. "I'll let you live comfortably for a few days. After the 1-year deadline, you'll know how generous I am." Yang Chung felt a chill down his spine. It turned out that the clause they had agreed upon had saved him. It was already early in the morning, and Lin Ruoshi still had no intention of resting. Yang Chung did not dare to interrupt the girl's work. He was about to find a sofa to lie down when he found his phone vibrating. Yang Chung was puzzled. Who would call him so late at night? Could it be from abroad? But Yang Chung was surprised when he picked it up. It was Tong Tong's number. Didn't that girl go back to the Tang family with her mother, Tang Wan? "Girl, what's wrong with you so late at night?" Yang Chung asked. On the other end of the phone, Tong Tong's voice was very soft and sounded like she was crying. "Uncle, Mom, she's poisoned. Tang Wan was poisoned." Yang Cheng's mind seemed to have been struck by lightning. His face darkened. "What's the situation? Make it clear." Lin Ruoshi looked over in confusion. She saw that Yang Cheng's face had suddenly become extremely serious and showed a trace of worry. Chapter 628. It all started when Tang Wan brought Tang Tang back to Beijing. According to old Master Tang Zhichen's request, dozens of important figures of the Tang family gathered together and held an internal meeting. The main purpose of the meeting was to sort out the conflicts among the members of the Tang family. Old Master Tang took charge of the meeting and cleaned up the messy internal structure of the Tang family. Tang Wan and Tang Huang, as the main candidates for the future successor, were of course especially mentioned. At the end of the meeting, Tang Zhichen said that he didn't have many years left to manage such a large family with a clear mind. Therefore, he decided to use the next year to test Tang Wan and Tang Huang, his grandchildren. Tang Huang's main business was the family business in the north, while Tang Wan's main business was the Jiangnan area. Finally, The successor of the Tang family will be decided based on the increase in their net profits. The moment this decision was made, it naturally caused the situation, which was already surging in the dark, to become extremely tense. The two people involved didn't express any opinions. They only agreed to follow old Master Tang's decision. They planned to return to their respective positions after the family meeting. However, on the night before Tang Wan returned to Zhonghai, she suddenly fainted at the banquet. The two factions in the Tang family were in a mess. After inviting doctors to treat Tang Wan, the few experienced doctors were confused. They only knew that there was an unknown virus in Tang Wan's body. This virus wouldn't kill the human body in a short period of time, but it would cause all the organs to become extremely weak. The body's immune system would also become extremely weak. This virus was somewhat similar to AIDS. It would reduce the human body's immune system and cause people to die from minor injuries. Everyone in the Tang family realized that the situation was serious when a virus suddenly appeared in the Tang family. First, if someone had poisoned Tang Wan, it could only be someone from the Tang family. In terms of the motive, it was most likely to be Tang Huang's men. However, it was precisely because of this reason that if it was done by Tang Huang, it would be too hasty and the plan would be clumsy. The second question was, if Tang Wan was infected with the virus, would the virus be contagious? Is this virus a type of HIV? Even these medical experts could not identify the virus. So naturally, the Tang family kept quiet out of fear. Each of them had a heavy heart, fearing that they had been infected. As a result, Tang Wan, the poison candidate for the head of the family, became the pathogen that was quarantined. Even though Tang Wan's body was extremely weak, the family did not dare to approach her and take care of her. They only sent Tang Wan to the isolation room of the hospital and let the doctors and nurses in isolation suits look after her. Because it happened in the Tang family felt that it was definitely a scandal, so they didn't dare to make it public. They tried their best to suppress the news. On the other hand, they took Tang Wan's blood sample to the Academy of Science for testing, hoping to find a cure. After hearing what had happened, Yang Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, Tang Wan's life wasn't in danger. Hearing Tong Tong's sobbing voice, he gently said, "Lass, crying is useless. But why did you take so long to call me when something so important happened?" Tang Tang said in a low voice, "I wanted to call you for a long time. If you can invite Miss Jane to cure great-grandfather, you can definitely help Mother too. But everyone in the family is worried that the news will spread and it will affect the reputation of the Tang family. After Mother fell ill, great-grandfather's health isn't very good either. He's resting at home and left everything to Uncle Tang Huang. I've been looking for a chance to contact him, but I've only found the chance now. I'm hiding in bed." Yang Cheng sneered. Affect reputation? Tang Wan had already fallen. Who cared about reputation? The rich and powerful were as deep as the sea. It was sad to be born in such a family. There must be someone who deliberately did not let Tang Wan get any help. They even hoped that Tang Wan would die of illness. Things couldn't be dragged on for too long. Yang Cheng was very clear that this time was different from Grandfather Tang's madness. No one knew how long Tang Wan could hold on. He didn't have time to invite Jane over from England. He had to go to Yinjing to solve the matter himself. Fortunately, his cultivation had broken through to a new height during this period. Although he hadn't tried it, Yang Cheng was vaguely convinced that he could help Tang Wan out of danger. Although Tang Wan wasn't his woman yet, their relationship was still on the edge. Coupled with the friendship between Tang Tang, Yuan Yi, and the others, he had to try his best to help her. However, it happened so suddenly. He had to cancel his agreement with Choi Yun. He had to go to Yinjing in advance, so he could only wait for Choi Yun to return to Yinjing before meeting up with her. After telling Tang Dang to rest assured and wait for him, Yang Qing hung up the phone and noticed that Lin Ruoshi was looking at him with a complicated expression. He smiled. "It looks like my trip to Yinjing will have to be brought forward." Lin Ruoshi roughly understood what he was talking about and nodded her head. Let people off when possible. After all, we're not in Zhonghai, and we're not familiar with the place and people. It will be troublesome if something happens. Yangqing never expected that Lin Ruoxi would remind him about this matter. He smiled. I thought that you would be angry that I went to the Tang family to look for Tang Wan. Lin Ruoxi rolled her eyes. There are priorities, and I'm not an unreasonable shrew. Yangqing's heart instantly calmed down. Then, tell Mom and Mother Wang that I'm leaving for Yanjing. Now, Lin Ruoxi was puzzled. Yangqing nodded his head. There's nothing else that I need to prepare, so it's better to go as soon as possible. In fact, the most ideal method was to break the seal and tear space to reach Yanjing. Although Yangqing did have such a method, it was too shocking. Furthermore, Yangqing felt that there was no need to rush. Yangqing was very curious about what kind of transportation method Ling Shuzi and Yin Sanyang, the two experts who had surpassed Xiantian full cycle, used. Although he wasn't sure if he had reached their level, he could feel that it wasn't something too profound. It was just that he hadn't understood the trick yet. Fortunately, since the other party's poison was to weaken Tang Wan's body, they definitely didn't want Tang Wan to die immediately. Therefore, Tang Wan would be fine for the time being. Yangqing's method was to book a plane ticket to Yanjing that took off as soon as possible. As for going home to get some clothes and documents, it wasn't a big deal at all. It only saved him the time to say goodbye to his family. Although Mo Qianyi's matter in Zhonghai hadn't been settled yet, Yangqing could only wait until he rescued Tang Wan before going to talk to Ma Guifang. Before boarding the plane, Yangqing called Choi Yun. Choi Yun, who was sleeping, was woken up and scolded. However, when she heard that Yangqing was going to Yanjing, all of a sudden, she was stunned. Fortunately, Choi Yun wasn't a child. She didn't ask much and straightforwardly agreed to meet up in Yanjing a few days later. Following that, Yangqing sent a message to An Xin, Lu Mingyu, Qiang Wei, and the other girls. He didn't have to deal with these trivial details in the past. Now that there was really someone holding him back, it would be hard to explain in the future if he didn't tell them where he was going. The most important thing was to send a message to Mo Qianyi, telling her to calm down. When he came back from Yanjing, they would naturally deal with each other's matters. Unexpectedly, before he left, Lu Mingyu called and asked, "Hubby, my dad just happened to bring someone back to Yanjing. If you don't have anyone to pick up in Yanjing, you can ask my dad to pick you up." Lu Qingshan was quite pissed off by Yangqing and Zhonghai, so it wasn't surprising that he went back to Yanjing. Yangqing rejected, "Forget it. Your dad won't be happy to see me. I have a plan. Baby Mingyu, don't worry." Okay. Lu Mingyu was a little disappointed, but she also knew that Yangqing wasn't in the mood to reconcile with Lu Qingshan. After a while, it was time for Yangqing to board the plane. He bought business class so that he could have a good night's sleep. Moreover, he didn't care about money. After sitting on the leather chair, Yangqing's lips curled into a smile. That was because a man and a woman came up from his left and quietly sat beside him. They were Sky Dragon and Yizi. I knew you guys would definitely follow me to Beijing. When I get there, I'm not familiar with the people and the place. Remember to arrange good food and a place to stay for me. Oh yeah, the car that picks me up has to be comfortable. I like a spacious one. The best would be a business car, Yangqing mumbled. Sky Dragon and Yizi looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Yangqing was purely ordering the people of Yellow Flame Iron Brigade around like nannies. However, the two of them couldn't reject such a simple request. Speaking of which, as long as Yangqing's whereabouts were within their surveillance range, they would follow Yangqing's wishes. Actually, after we reported to the headquarters, the general asked us to follow you on this trip to Yanjing. So, Yangqing, don't worry. Even if it's for our own sake, we'll treat you well, Sky Dragon said, trying to regain some face. However, Yangqing didn't care at all. He raised his head, closed his eyes, and dozed off. Sky Dragon couldn't help but stare at him. 10 minutes later, the early morning flight took off on time. The body of the plane soared into the sky. Chapter 629. Early in the morning, Yanjing City was still like a sleeping lion. Under the dusky sky, the street lights flickered with a bit of brilliance. The row upon row of skyscrapers formed a distinct and unique contrast with the simple and unadorned ancient city buildings that had experienced the vicissitudes of life. On the top floor of a foreign five-star hotel in Yanjing City, in the presidential suite, the lights were dim, but there was no rest for the whole night. The delicate moans of a woman were mixed with a sharp cry of pain from time to time. But more than that, it was a weak moan of exhaustion, as if she was about to faint. The whole room was filled with the scent of hormones and the fragrance of the rose perfume on the woman's body. Suddenly, the woman let out a sharp scream, and then, as if she was sobbing, her voice gradually calmed down. On the spacious soft bed, the white sheets were stained with all sorts of liquid stains. A beautiful female body was completely exposed to the air, leaning against the chest of a slender and muscular man. The man's face looked devilishly handsome, and he was also completely naked. With one hand, he grabbed the woman like a doll, and with the other, he casually grabbed a cup of pungent wine from the pair-wood bedside table. The strong smell of alcohol made the woman, who was originally exhausted, frown again, but she didn't dare to show any resentment. "How is it?" The man drank a mouthful of spicy wine and asked expressionlessly. The woman, who was a little drowsy, raised her head. After being tormented for the whole night, she was extremely tired, but when she heard the man's question, she immediately perked up. A delicate oval face faced the man. It was the daughter of the third son of the Tang family, Tang Wan's cousin, Tang Xin. After Tang Wan was poisoned, she has been quarantined in the hospital. Grandpa is recuperating at home. He seems to have suffered a blow and entrusted everything to Tang Huang. The family is in a mess, Tang Xin said with a charming smile. The man sneered. "Now, who are they suspecting?" Tang Xin said slyly. Hee, that bunch of idiots. They thought it was Tang Huang who poisoned her. However, those who support Tang Huang won't say anything. As for those who support Tang Wan, they won't dare to show their faces now that Tang Wan is in such a state. If this continues, it won't be long before the Tang family falls apart. "Umph," the man snorted coldly. A trace of hesitation flashed across Tang Xion's eyes, but she still asked, "If you don't ask, will you kill everyone from the Tang family when the matter is resolved?" This man was Yin Buin of the Yin clan. "Kill? Why kill?" Yin Buin asked. Tang Xian shook her head. "I'm just asking. I'll support you no matter what you want." As she spoke, Tang Xion's eyes were filled with passion and infatuation. It was as if the man in front of her was her only hope. Yin Buin ignored the passionate gaze of the woman in his arms. He tossed the wine glass on the carpet and spanked Tang Xion's plump, but with a loud paw. "Don't sleep anymore. Hurry back to the Tang family and keep an eye on the situation," Yin Buin said coldly. Tang Xian got up resentfully. "You made me stay awake the whole night. Can't you let me rest in your arms for a while?" "Why? You think I'm not treating you well?" Yin Buin sneered. Tang Xion's face paled. She quickly shook her head. "No, I didn't mean that. I'll go back now." As she spoke, Tang Xian struggled to get up. She endured the pain in her lower body and picked up her clothes from the floor. She slowly put them on. As she put them on, she glanced at the man who was resting on the bed. After she finished putting on her clothes, Tang Xian pursed her lips and asked, "Don't ask. When the matter is resolved, you'll marry me as your wife, right?" Yin Buin opened his eyes and glanced at the woman. Uh-huh. It sounded like a yes or no, but it made Tang Xion's eyes burn with passion. She bit her lips and pounced on Yin Buin. She kissed him on the lips and left the presidential suite reluctantly. When the door closed, Yin Buin sneered. A hint of passion appeared in his eyes. "You want me to marry a bitch? Umph. My woman will only be my goddess." Beijing, Yang family's military compound, back garden. Xian paper was laid on top of the table with ink on the side. Yang Gongming was wearing a cotton robe. He was already standing in front of the table, practicing calligraphy with a thick brush made of wolf hair. Not long after, Yin Sanyang came into the courtyard with a smile on her face. She placed it on the wooden table and watched quietly so as not to disturb Yang Gongming. Yang Gongming concentrated his qi and wrote for about 10 minutes before putting down the brush. He turned around and smiled at Yin Sanyang. "Sanyang, my calligraphy has deteriorated recently." "I can't tell." Yin Sanyang smiled. "Hee, I'm getting old and my hands are starting to tremble. Back then, I could hold a heavy machine gun without trembling. Now, I can't even hold a brush steadily. I really can't stand many years of hardships. Yang Gongming sighed. Yin Sanyang's eyes flashed with a hint of sadness, but she quickly smiled. Although the brush is trembling, the essence, qi, and spirit of calligraphy are condensed into an artistic conception. Master's calligraphy is getting better and better. Yang Gongming waved his hand and didn't say anything else. He walked to the table and picked up his breakfast. After a few mouthfuls, he asked, "Is Yang Cheng here?" Yin Sanyang nodded. "I received the news, and he rushed over to Beijing this morning. I think he should be here by now. There's something fishy about the Tang family. But no matter what, the Tang family is the most important among the four major families. We can't just sit back and do nothing. I believe that the Li and Ning family are already paying attention to this," Yang Gongming said. "If Yang Cheng can save her, that would be great. If not, you should go and take a look. Maybe you can save her." Yin Sanyang nodded. "Don't worry, Master. Miss Tang is not in danger. Tang Zhichen's granddaughter would be a good girl if she didn't have a daughter. Although the seniority is a little messy, it's a pity." Yang Gongming sighed. Yin Sanyang pursed her lips and smiled. Young Master Chun has a lot of women by his side. If it wasn't for the fact that things are different now, I wouldn't be able to stand it. Yang Gongming burst into laughter. After a while, he said, "Let him be. I'm already so old. I'll just pretend that I'm muddle-headed. He can do whatever he wants with the children. It's his own ability to have women by his side. But if he were to enter the Yang family in the future, there shouldn't be a lot of them." "Master, you seem to be very confident that young Master Chun will return to the family," Yin Sanyang said curiously. Yang Gongming shook his head. "I'm not confident. I'm just mentally prepared for him to return." As he spoke, Yang Gongming pointed at the calligraphy that he had written and said, "Sanyang, please take care of Yang Cheng's activities in Beijing. There will be many people who know that he is coming to Beijing. If anything happens, let me know immediately. Pass the calligraphy to him when there's a chance." Yin Sanyang looked at the words that had just dried and nodded her head in understanding. At the same time, at the Beijing International Airport, Yang Cheng, who had just walked out of the arrival terminal with Sky Dragon and Yi Zi, felt an itch in his nose and almost sneezed. "Damn it, it seems like a lot of people are talking about me," Yang Cheng mumbled to himself. He looked around and asked Sky Dragon, "Hey, Sky Dragon, where are the people who are picking us up? My time is precious." Sky Dragon sighed and pointed at an Infiniti QX56 black SUV that was parked not far away. He said, "It's over there. How would we dare to neglect a living Buddha like you?" Yang Cheng nodded in satisfaction and patted Sky Dragon's shoulder. "Good service. I'll talk to General Kai and give you a raise." Yi pouted. "Brother Yang, we don't get paid." "What?" Yang Cheng was shocked. "Yellow Flame Iron Brigade is so pitiful. You don't even get paid for your work. TSK, forget it. Find a chance to quit Yellow Flame Iron Brigade and join me. My entertainment company is still lacking security guards and receptionists. It's good that you're here." As he finished speaking, Yang Cheng ran to the SUV with a smile, ignoring Sky Dragon and Yi Zi's pale and green faces. He opened the door and got in. Chapter 630. Tang, one was in Beijing's #1 military hospital. Under normal circumstances, this hospital was only open to the most important people. Naturally, the medical standards and facilities were quite advanced. Yang Cheng had no idea about the geography of Beijing. In his brain, there were maps of almost every country in the world, including maps of major cities. However, he had no sense of direction when it came to his birthplace, Huaxia. Therefore, Yang Cheng simply let Sky Dragon and Yi Zi bring him there. He sat in the car and didn't think about anything else. After all, the two of them had no reason not to help him. Indeed, to the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, it was most important for Yang Cheng to finish his business and return to Zhonghai as soon as possible. If Yang Cheng wanted to save someone, it wouldn't be a problem for them. They would try their best to help him. The traffic in Beijing was a little congested. The car drove for nearly 2 hours before arriving at the military hospital. After getting out of the car, Yang Cheng let Sky Dragon and Yi Zi lead the way. They walked into the hospital and arrived at the special care ward. Other than doctors and nurses, There were a few strangers and a few familiar figures in the lounge outside the intensive care unit. Old Master Tang Zhichen was sitting in a wheelchair with his granddaughter, Tang Xian, pushing the wheelchair. He was lost in thought as he looked at Tang Wan, who was lying on the bed in the isolation ward. Tang, who was originally lively, seemed to have aged a few years. She was wearing a plain floral dress, and there were faint traces of tears on her face. She was also standing outside the ward in a daze. As for the other men and women in suits and leather shoes, they stood beside old Master Tang with sad expressions, as if they were consoling him. When Yang Cheng and the others entered, these people were the first to react. When they saw Yang Cheng and the others, they didn't recognize them at all. Most of them frowned and ignored them. However, Tang Xian turned around with a look of surprise. "Mr. Yang, you're here." Tang Zhichen and Tang turned around as well. Tang's eyes reddened when she saw Yang Chen. She ran into Yang Chen's arms and started sobbing as if she had been holding it in for a long time. Yang Cheng sighed and patted Tang's shoulder, which seemed to have lost some weight. "Look at you. You have to wait for me to come before you cry. Don't you know that you should dry your tears first and wait for me to come?" Tang raised her head and said tearfully, "Uncle, don't you have any shame? I'm dying of anxiety." All right, don't let others misunderstand. "You're my sister-in-law," Yang Cheng said with a smile. Only then did Tang realize that they were in front of everyone. She quickly stood up and stuck out her tongue. "Who's your sister-in-law? I haven't decided to marry that blockhead yet." Yang Cheng observed a moment of silence for Yuan Yi. He turned around and nodded at Tang Zhichen. "Grandpa Tang, I'll go in and have a look. You don't mind, right?" Tang Zhichen nodded with a hopeful look on his face. "Yang Cheng, I'm really sorry. I didn't want to trouble you anymore, so I didn't make up my mind to call you. I didn't expect you to come. It was Tang who called you, right?" Yang Cheng clicked his tongue. "Grandpa, can you not be so hypocritical? If you really didn't want to trouble me, would you have given Tang the chance to call me?" Tang Zhichen didn't deny it and grinned. To be honest, he didn't want to ask Yang Cheng for help. However, everyone in the family was against it. They said that family scandals should not be aired in public. Moreover, Tang Wan was single. How could she get involved with a strange young man? Although Tang Zhichen was the head of the family, he couldn't abandon the family's reputation and Tang Wan's in front of so many people. Therefore, he could only use Tang to pass the message to Yang Cheng. The strangers whispered among themselves. They didn't know where Yang Cheng came from and why he was so familiar with Grandpa Tang. However, since Tang Zhichen didn't introduce him to them, they didn't dare to ask. "Teacher, take care of yourself. We'll be leaving now." A stranger bowed to Grandpa Tang. Tang Zhichen nodded. "You guys can go back now. I understand your good intentions." The group of people left one after another. When they walked past Yang Cheng, they subconsciously glanced at Yang Cheng a few times. After everyone left, Tang Zhichen explained to Yang Cheng, "When I was still in the political circle, I was the principal of the party school. These are all my former students. Although Wan Er's accident didn't spread the news, there are no walls in Beijing that don't have ears. These people who have reached the top of the political circle still know about it. So they came to visit me and Wan Er together. It can be said that they are considerate." Yang Cheng finally understood. However, he also had a new estimation of the Tang family's power. He didn't believe that these people only came to visit Wan Er because of their old relationship. Although Tang Zhichen had retired from the political circle, his influence in Huaxia was not weak. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to suck up to him. However, the Tang family was just a business family. How could they become one of the 4 most influential families in China? It was really puzzling. But that wasn't what Yang Cheng wanted to know. He walked to the door of the isolation ward and asked the nurse, "What's the password?" The nurse was wearing a mask. She raised her eyebrows. "Who are you? This isn't a place where you can come and go as you please. The patient inside has not been diagnosed yet. Even medical staff have to wear isolation suits to enter. Don't worry, nurse. There are so many people here." Yang Cheng smiled. "Just tell me. I won't blame you if anything happens." Before he came to Yanjin, Lin Ruoshi had told him to be lenient. Yang Cheng didn't feel offended by the nurse's tone. At this moment, a middle-aged doctor walked up and said, "Sir, this is an intensive care unit. If you're not a professional medical staff, even the patient's family members aren't allowed to enter. Please don't make things difficult for us." Yang Cheng could only look at Tang Zhichen and ask him to put in a good word for him. Tang Zhichen could only say politely, "Doctor, this young man has extraordinary medical skills. Why don't you let him in to see my granddaughter in isolation suits? I'll make an exception this time." The doctor wasn't someone who didn't know what was going on. Since Master Tang had spoken, he didn't dare to be stubborn. Moreover, it was Yang Cheng who asked for it, so he couldn't be blamed if anything happened. As for Yang Cheng's medical skills, the doctor felt that only an idiot would believe it. Finally, the doctor asked the nurse to bring Yang Cheng to the changing room to change his clothes and disinfect. Yang Cheng was frustrated. It's so troublesome to enter a ward. What kind of special care is this? It's more like a hassle. After a series of complicated checks, Yang Cheng finally entered the ward where Tang Wan was lying in isolation suits. The middle-aged doctor was worried that Yang Cheng might do something dangerous, so he followed him. Yang Cheng didn't care. He walked to the side of Tang Wan's bed and saw Tang Wan's condition clearly. He felt a pang of heartache. For some reason, fingernail-sized red and black spots appeared on Tang Wan's originally gentle and fair face. Her face was pale and haggard. Her lips were chapped, and her black hair had turned yellow. If he didn't know that the person lying on the ground was Tang Wan, Yang Chen wouldn't believe it at all. A beautiful, mature woman like her had been reduced to such a tragic state. What kind of evil poison could cause this woman to be in such a terrible state? Sigh. Until now, the people from the Academy of Sciences haven't figured out the source and nature of this virus. The patient's heart rate and other indicators are still stable, but she can only rely on the nutrient solution to maintain her vitality. If this continues, the poison will invade the brain and bone marrow sooner or later. The doctor sighed helplessly. Tang Wan seemed to have sensed someone approaching and opened her eyes with difficulty. A woman who had removed her makeup, if not for the spots on her face, would still be a rare and elegant beauty. But now, she was like a pearl covered in dust, without any luster. Although Yang Cheng was wearing a mask, Tang Wan still recognized who he was. Her pair of dim eyes were overflowing with a glimmer of light. Am I very ugly? Tang Wan's cracked lips revealed a bitter self-mockery. Yang Cheng didn't say anything. Instead, he suddenly took off the leather protective glove on his right hand and took off his mask. When the doctor saw this, he was shocked. "What are you doing? Put on. This virus might infect you." Yang Cheng didn't care at all. His hand naturally reached out to the side of Tang Wan's cheek and gently stroked Tang Wan's face that had been destroyed by the spots. The originally delicate skin was now rough and wrinkled. Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows and smiled. "If I say that you look good now, will you think that I'm very hypocritical?" Tang Wan smiled sadly, nodding slightly. The doctor next to him couldn't do anything to Yang Cheng. He said angrily, "Are you listening to me or not?" Yang Cheng ignored him. His fingers pressed on Tang Wan's wrist, as if he was feeling her pulse, but also as if he was just lightly touching her wrist to feel something. After a while, Yang Cheng turned around and made a few hand gestures to Sky Dragon and Yi Zi, who were outside the isolation window. Tang Zhichen, Tang Xian, and the nurses were confused by this gesture. They couldn't understand it at all. However, Sky Dragon and Yi Zi looked at each other and nodded at Yang Cheng, as if agreeing to something. Tang Xian's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. She asked Yi Zi, "Sister, what does Misty Yang mean?" Yi Zi explained, "Brother Yang is using the International Marine Corps' common sign language. He wants everyone here to leave. He wants to treat Tang Wan alone." "Treat? Does that mean that Yang Cheng has a way to treat Wan Air?" Tang Zhichen asked immediately. Tang was also full of excitement. She was so excited that she couldn't say a word. Before anyone could react, they saw that Yang Cheng had already grabbed the doctor, opened the door, and sent him out. The doctor was furious. He was confused as to how the other party had turned the tables on him. However, before he could open his mouth to curse, he saw a somewhat familiar document land in front of him. Sky Dragon took out his security bureau ID and began to help Yang Chung clean up the people outside. This was a military hospital. Naturally, the doctors and nurses had undergone special training. They were quite familiar with the ID of various national departments. When the doctor realized that they were from the security bureau, he immediately calmed down. They were not ordinary policemen or criminal police. They were the guards of the central government. He didn't dare to offend them. Moreover, Master Tang didn't say anything, so what could a doctor like him do? Soon, a group of medical staff, including Master Tang, Tang Xian, and Tang Tang, left the intensive care unit. Sky Dragon and Yi closed the door and went to stand guard outside. When no one was outside, Yang Chung looked around and found a surveillance camera in the corner. He flicked his finger and a gust of chi flew out, shattering the camera into pieces. Tang Wan was very weak. She watched Yang Chung do all this. Although she was curious, she didn't waste any energy to ask. Her eyes were full of trust. Okay, I'm going to treat you. If it's successful, you should get better soon. But you have to cooperate. Yang Chung smiled. Tang Wan nodded and said softly, I believe you. How to cooperate? Yang Chung didn't say anything. He stretched out his left index finger and made a cut on it with the tip of his right hand. A red light appeared on the index finger. It was the blood that oozed out after Yang Chung cut the skin of his finger. Yang Chung brought the bleeding index finger to Tang Wan's dry lips. Ignoring Tang Wan's shocked gaze, he smiled evilly. You have to cooperate with me. Suck my finger with all your strength. Chapter 631. As time went by, the nurses and doctors had already left the ICU. Only Tang Zhichen, Tang Xian, and Tang Tang were left behind. Sky Dragon and Yi stood by the door silently. Seeing that there was no movement inside, Tang Xian couldn't help but ask, Grandpa, can Mr. Yang really cure my sister? The poison in my sister's body is much stronger than the one I had before. Shouldn't we ask Miss Yiling for help? Tang Zhichen closed his eyes as if he was praying for something. This time, Miss Yiling is powerful, but she is in the UK. The poison in your sister's body is very difficult to understand. It is an acute poison. If we delay, it will be too late. Moreover, Miss Yiling is using a scientific method. It will take a lot of time to collect materials and prove it. It can't be done in a short period of time. So, asking Miss Yiling for help is the last resort. But Mr. Yang, can he really do it? Tang Xian's eyes flickered as she bit her lip. Tang Tang said, Uncle can definitely do it. I know he is very powerful. Tang Zhichen turned around and looked at his excited great-granddaughter. Tang Tang, tell me the truth. Are you angry with me? Tang Tang was stunned. She shook her head. Grandpa, why do you say that? Tang Zhichen grabbed Tong Tong's hand lovingly. You grew up with your mother in the South. You don't go home often. I have never taken care of you. Now that your mother brought you back to Yanjing, this happened. I feel sorry for you and your mother. Tang Tang lowered her head in silence. I know great-grandpa had no choice. Mom often told me that if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have lived until now. So, I'm very happy that great-grandpa is willing to acknowledge me. Tang Zhichen laughed. Why not? You are Wan Er's daughter. You are flesh and blood. Naturally, you are my great-granddaughter. How can I not acknowledge you? But I'm just Tang Tang clenched her teeth, unable to speak. So what if it's a test tube baby? There are plenty of test tube babies overseas. I'm not that old-fashioned. Tang Zhichen patted Tong Tong's hand and said, Tang Tang, don't worry. Your mother will definitely recover. Great-grandfather wants to hand over the Tang family to your mother, and your mother wants to hand over the Tang family to you. No one can stop this. Hearing such heartfelt words, not only Tang Tang, but even Tang Xian, who was standing behind the wheelchair, was stunned. The reason why the Tang family was in such a mess was that Tang Zhichen had never expressed his intention to give the position to his successor. Tang Zhichen said those words to Tang Tang on such an occasion. It would be an exaggeration to say that he was trying to fool Tang Tang. He was just comforting his great-granddaughter. Was there a need to say those words? Tang Xian's pretty face was clouded with uncertainty. She lowered her head and gritted her teeth. Great-grandfather, I only know how to fool around. I don't know how to run a business. Even though Tang Tang was inexperienced, she knew how intense the internal strife within the family was. Hearing Tang Zhichen's words, she felt inexplicably terrified and shook her head. Don't worry, great-grandfather is still here. Your mother will teach you in the future. Trust in great-grandfather's judgment. Our Tang Tang will be the most ideal successor in the future. Tang Zhichen pursed his lips and smiled, as if he could already see the future. Sky Dragon and Ez, who were standing not far away, heard the conversation between the Tang family's grandfather and granddaughter. However, they were outsiders, and the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade did not participate in the family's internal strife. After comforting Tang Tang, Tang Zhichen turned to Tang Exen, who was behind him, and said, Exen, it's been hard on you these days. When I was sick, I relied on you to take care of me. Now that your sister is poisoned, you have to take care of me and your sister. You're the most filial among all my descendants. Tang Xin smiled tactfully and shook her head. Grandpa, this is what I should do. I'm not as smart as my sister, so I can only do these small things. Everyone has their own strengths. I don't think your elder sister can take care of me. Tang Zhichen smiled. You're not young anymore. Grandpa promises that I'll find you a suitable marriage in the near future. I can't let you accompany me all these years for nothing. Grandpa, Xen is willing to serve you. Tang Xen said eagerly. Tang Zhichen sighed. I know you're kind and filial, but looking at you and the rest of the bastards in the family, this old man is really disappointed. Hearing this, Tang Dang and Tang Xen did not say anything. After Tang Wan was poisoned, the Tang clan only came to check on her once. After that, no one came to visit her, and no one asked about Tang Wan's condition. They were all thinking about how they should take sides if Tang Wan could not be saved, and how they should divide the maple group that Tang Wan left behind. Tang Zhichen could guess these things even when he was in the hospital. On the other hand, his students and friends from other clans came to visit in time. How could he not sigh? At this moment, footsteps could be heard from outside the tunnel. The footsteps were steady and powerful, and one could sense an extraordinary aura from them. When they got closer, they saw that it was a handsome young man, accompanied by two strong men in camouflage military uniforms. The young man had a tan complexion and an ordinary face. He wore a short-sleeved blue shirt with a sloppy beard. What made people feel strange was that one of the young man's eyes was covered with a black eye patch, just like a pirate in a Western movie. Coupled with the young man's high-spirited aura, he exuded a murderous aura. It was also because of this unique temperament that even though he wasn't particularly majestic, he didn't seem to be inferior to the two burly men, even though he was standing in front of them. Tang Zhichen was puzzled when he saw the unfamiliar young man. His students were all middle-aged and elderly, so it was natural that he would not be this young. Tang Xin and Tang Dang had never seen this man before, so they looked at him curiously. On the other hand, Sky Dragon and Yi could see the surprise in each other's eyes. Apparently, they knew who this young man was. The youth walked up to Patriarch Tang and revealed a forthright smile. His voice also contained a bit of the Savannah's accent. This should be the Tang family's Patriarch Tang. This junior is called Li Dun. As soon as I returned to Yanjing, I heard that the Tang family's sister Tang Wan was gravely ill. It just so happens that my grandfather and father weren't able to make it in time, so I came to visit her. Li Dun. Tang Zhichen immediately understood when he heard the name. Of course he knew this young man. He was one of the Yin Jin King duo, along with Yin Buin from the Yin clan. The difference between Li Dun and Yin Buin was that Li Dun was outstanding because of his strength and his outstanding achievements on the battlefield. Because Li Dun had been on missions at the border and abroad for many years, not many people knew about him, even though he was famous in Yanjing. Even the science geek Yin Buin, a young man who rarely appeared in public, looked more familiar than Li Dun. Tang Zhichen was a shrewd man, so he quickly noticed Li Dun's uniqueness. Tong Tong's eyes lit up when she heard of Li Dun, but Tang Xian's eyes flashed with disdain. But it was this moment of disdain that made Li Dun's attention turn to Tang Xian. Pretty lady, did I offend you in any way? Li Dun grinned at Tang Xian. Tang Xian didn't expect Li Dun to notice that. She was a little embarrassed, but she suppressed her anger and forced a smile. Young Masterly, you must be joking. It's our first time meeting, and I'm just an ignorant woman. Why would you offend me? Li Dun asked without hesitation. But lady, why are you still full of disdain and anger towards me? Tang Xin was shocked. Li Dun could even tell that she was angry. How is that possible? Tang Zhichen squinted his eyes and said, I heard from the old man Li Mo's hen that his precious grandson could detect even the slightest change in other people's emotions. His observation skills are unparalleled. I didn't expect him to be telling the truth. You're flattering me, Elder Tang. I'm just a little sensitive. I'm used to trying to understand the situation in front of me. It's just an occupational disease, Li Dun said with relief. Tang Xin put her hand on her chest and lowered her head, refusing to look at Li Dun. However, Li Dun sneaked a few glances at Tang Xin, as if he was still thinking about why a woman he had never met before would express such dissatisfaction towards him. Tang Zhichen smiled playfully. As far as I know, you're not the kind of person who likes to be overly formal. I'm guessing you're not here just to visit my sick granddaughter. Li Dun didn't hide it. He laughed and said, Since Elder Tang said so, I won't hide it anymore. I've been on a mission in Vietnam for the past 6 months, and I've just returned to Beijing for 2 days. Today, I received news that an opponent that I'm interested in has come to Beijing from Zhonghai. I've been interested in challenging him for the past 2 years, and now that he's here, I won't let him go. As expected, you're here for Yang Cheng. Tang Zhichen shook his head and smiled. Tang Xin and Tang Tang were puzzled. Why is Yang Cheng so famous? Chapter 632. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi were shocked by Li Dun's words. Wasn't he here to cause trouble? Why did he have to pick a fight with Yang Cheng of all people? Didn't he know that everyone was trying to prevent Yang Cheng from making a move? Li Dun saw Sky Dragon and Yi Zi guarding the ward. Although they weren't familiar with each other, they knew each other since they were part of the security bureau. Li Dun smiled at them in a friendly manner. Looks like I'm in the right place. Yang Cheng should be inside. Sky Dragon frowned. Young Master Li, you should know that this isn't an opponent you can casually approach. He's different from the others. Of course I know he's different. That's why I'm looking for him, Li Dun said calmly. As for the responsibility, Brother Sky Dragon, you don't have to worry. I'll explain it to my grandfather. Sky Dragon and Easy looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Although they were subordinates of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade and could be said to be independent, in this country where power was concentrated, they were still the subordinates of Li Mo's hen, the director. Therefore, they could not control people like Li Dun. Sky Dragon looked at Li Dun carefully, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Although he had never fought with Li Dun before, he had long heard that he was a genius in martial arts. Now that he looked at him closely, he realized that he couldn't see through him at all. Sky Dragon's strength was second only to Abyss Yun Miao in the group of 8. He was also one of the best in the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. However, Sky Dragon knew very well that even Yang Cheng's younger brother, Yang Lai, was not someone he could handle, not to mention Yang Cheng's untouchable level. Now that he had met Li Dun, Sky Dragon couldn't help but feel bitter. Perhaps this was really the era of the young. Li Dun was obviously not interested in Sky Dragon, a master of the group of 8. He wasn't in a hurry to enter the ward to look for Yang Cheng. Instead, he stood outside the ward quietly, waiting for Yang Cheng to come out. Seeing Li Dun's confident look, Tang Zhichen's eyes flashed with approval. No matter how strong this young man was, his temperament and cultivation were superior to many other young men of his age. After a full 30 minutes, the corridor was silent. Just as Tang Tang was about to lose her patience, the ward door finally opened. Yang Chen's silhouette was seen walking out lazily. His hands were doing chest stretching exercises as if his body was stiff. He yawned in boredom, as if he had just woken up from a nap. Tang Zhichen was a little happy. He was old, and he knew that his granddaughter should be fine. Li Dun's eyes sparkled with excitement as he stared at this seemingly ordinary man with an excited smile on his face. Uncle, Dun. Yang Cheng grabbed Yang Cheng and pointed to the back. Dun Dragon, Dun Yang Duan Yang Dragon Duan. Yang Cheng pointed to the back with his thumb. Go in and see for yourself. Tang Ting nodded. She didn't have time to ask any more questions and ran into the ward. Then, Tong Tong's excited cry of joy could be heard from the ward. Mom! Tang Zhichen was also a little anxious. He gestured for Tang Xin to push him in. Tang Xin was still a little surprised, but now she smiled happily and pushed Tang Zhichen into the room. In the ward, Tang Wan, who was originally lying on the bed, had somehow sat up. Her originally withered face once again glowed with her original charm. She looked like a person who was exhausted after a strenuous exercise, but only a little sweat and a flushed face. In fact, if one looked closely, they would find that Tang Wan's originally delicate and elastic skin seemed to have regressed more than a decade at this moment. She became especially energetic and beautiful like a young girl, sparkling and eye-catching. At this moment, Tang Tang was in Tang Wan's arms, crying and laughing happily. Tang Wan gently patted her daughter's back with a loving expression. All right, Mom is fine. Our Tang Tang is the bravest, don't cry. Tang Wan comforted her daughter. It was as if Tang Tang was not a young girl who was about to go to university, but a 3-year-old girl. Perhaps in a mother's eyes, a child would never grow up. But in the eyes of others, they did not look like mother and daughter. They were more like a sister and a sister. What did you do? How is this possible? Sky Dragon, who was at the door, turned to look at Yang Cheng and asked in surprise. Tang Zhichen, Tang Xin, and the rest also looked at Yang Cheng in confusion. To be honest, it was too magical. Tang Wan looked like she was terminally ill. In just half an hour, not only did Yang Cheng bring her back to life, she even looked more beautiful than before. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Yang Cheng did not do anything special. He only let Tang Wan suck some of his blood. With the help of his true yuan from the Endless Resolve Restoration Scripture, he used his blood's resistance to any toxins to clear Tang Wan's meridians. As Yang Cheng did not know much about medicine, he washed all the meridians that he could clear. Coincidentally, the nature of the Endless Resolve Restoration Scripture was to continuously destroy and rebuild. While removing the toxins in Tang Wan's body, it also healed the damage it caused. This healing process also transformed Tang Wan's body from the inside out. Such an action was no different from the ancient people's washing of the meridians and remolding the body. An ordinary expert would not even dare to think about it. This was the same as helping a person clear all the meridians in the body. Yang Cheng did not know what realm he had reached. Without a master to guide him, he felt quite helpless. However, Yang Cheng was sure that before he improved his realm, he would not be able to cure Tang Wan so quickly. In fact, if the current Tang Wan was willing to practice internal movement, she would definitely improve at an extraordinary speed. This was because the biggest shackle in ordinary people's cultivation, the obstruction of meridians, was something that Tang Wan would not encounter. Of course, although using someone else's power to clear the meridians was fast, synchronizing the realm was a huge hidden danger. Otherwise, it would be too easy for powerful experts to appear. I didn't mean to hide it from you. It's just that it's a little complicated, and I can't explain it clearly. It was not that Yang Cheng did not know how to explain it, but it took a lot of effort to explain it. He was not that bored to ask for trouble. Moreover, he only knew how to do these mysterious techniques, and he did not know the principles behind them. Tang Zhichen smiled in satisfaction. Logically speaking, I should thank you properly. But my granddaughter is quite close to you, so I won't stand on ceremony with you. Yang Cheng secretly cursed at this sly old fox. Although he did not ask for anything in return for saving Tang Wan, Tang Zhichen still dared to say it out loud. At this moment, Li Dun, who had been silent all this while, finally stepped forward and extended his hand to Yang Cheng in a friendly manner. Nice to meet you, I'm Li Dun. Yang Cheng was slightly stunned when he heard the name. Then, he recalled that the person who was known as the Beijing King Duo, along with Yin Buan, was Li Dun, the eldest grandson of the Li family. You're Li Dun from the Li family? Yang Cheng had an idea. He smiled and shook Li Dun's hand. Of course, Li Dun smiled brightly. It seems that Mr. Yang knows me too. Yang Cheng thought to himself. Just when he was worrying about how to help Kai Ning solve her problem, the Li family actually came knocking on his door. I've heard about you from that stupid Tang Ju, Yang Chung said. Then he suddenly thought of something. Why hadn't he seen Tang Ju, who called him brother-in-law, for a long time? Tang Wan's younger brother. Her sister was already so sick. Where did Tang Ju go? Yang Chung turned around and asked Tang Jichen, Old Master Tang, where's your grandson, Tang Ju? Tang Wan is already in this state. Don't tell me he's still wandering around outside? Tang Wan, who was in the ward, replied. He was sent to Russia to take care of business. Grandpa wanted to train him. This time, he didn't know that Aunt Sheen was there. Even when she was bedridden, Tang Wan did not forget to take care of her only younger brother. Yang Chung sighed at Tang Ju's luck. Tang Wan was the one who suffered, and Tang Wan solved the problem. He just had to walk on his own. However, it was useless to let Tang Ju know that Tang Wan was sick. It would only cause trouble. Li Dun was not in the mood to care about the Tang family. He said excitedly, Mr. Yang, I'm here to look for you. Yang Chung nodded. Great. I'm looking for your family too. Shall we go out and talk? This ward smells terrible. Li Dun immediately gestured for them to go out. Seeing Yang Chung leave with the three of them, Tang pouted. Uncle, you're so inconsiderate. Mommy just got sick and you don't care anymore. Tang Wan scratched her daughter's nose. There were still people around. How could she talk about her relationship with Yang Chung so casually? Tang Jichen chuckled. Wan Air, if you think you're fine, I'll get the doctor to do a blood test for you. If you're fine, you can leave the hospital. Grandpa will get someone to make some bird's nest for you to replenish your energy. MHM. Tang Wan nodded as if she had been reborn and couldn't wait to leave the hospital. On the other hand, Yang Chung and Li Dun walked out of the hospital and stopped near the parking lot. Li Dun said, Mr. Yang, I'm a soldier. I don't like to beat around the bush. I'm here to learn from you. Chapter 633. Yang Chen had more or less guessed why Li Dun was looking for him, and it was as he had expected. Come to think of it, a man with the aura of a fierce soldier like him wouldn't be interested in anything else other than a proper fight. Do you think I'll agree? Yang Chung asked with a smile. Li Dun's eyes were burning with passion. You'll agree. Why else would you ask me to come out? Yang Chung shook his head. If I fight just because you say so, wouldn't that be embarrassing for me? Then tell me, what do you want to spar with me? Li Dun was reasonable. He did not start a fight recklessly. Besides, this was a hospital. He had a sense of propriety. Yang Chung said, It's a spar, sure, but it's like a bet. There needs to be some sort of reward. If I fight with you, of course there needs to be some sort of reward and punishment. It all depends on whether or not you dare to bet with me. Although Li Dun was straightforward, he was not an idiot. Otherwise, he would have died on the battlefield hundreds of times. The leader of the Special Forces was definitely not an idiot. Mr. Yang, it seems like you have a problem that you need my help with, Li Dun said bluntly with a smile. Yang Chung clapped his hands. It's so easy to talk to smart people. Actually, I want to return a favor. Then, Yang Chung briefly explained about Kai Ning and Yong Yi. Yong Yi and his parents were relatives of the Li family, but he was definitely not as well established as Li Dun, so his status in the family was naturally incomparable. So, Yang Cheng's condition was very simple. If Li Dun lost, Li Dun had to break off Kai Ning's shameful engagement. That way, Yang Chung would not have to come out and cause trouble, and Kai Ning would not have to lose her innocence because of Yang Chung. After listening, Li Dun frowned and thought for a while. Mr. Yang, Yong Yi is my cousin, but we don't have much interaction. If I really want to help you, there needs to be a legitimate reason and not just because of a bet with you. Perhaps in Mr. Yang's opinion, it's unreasonable for my cousin, Yong Yi, to marry Flower Rain. But no matter what, it's my cousin's marriage, and he should be in control of it. I can only give my blessings and not make trouble. Yang Chung felt a headache and said, If you want a reason, there's one. Just say that Kai Ning doesn't like him. Don't make a marriage that ends on bad terms. Li Dun smiled. That's not a reason at all. We're not the people involved. How would we know if they're willing or not? Besides, if they can live happily ever after marriage, wouldn't I be committing a sin? Yang Chung was taken aback. He did not expect the straightforward Li Dun to be so thoughtful. He did not let his confidence get the better of him. Li Dun said with some regret, I'm sorry, I can't agree to this condition. If it was money or some other items, I could consider it, but this concerns my cousin's lifelong happiness. No matter how much I want to fight with Mr. Yang, I can't do that. You can't just think about yourself. You're right. Yang Chun smiled awkwardly. He did it on a whim and got a little anxious. Thinking about it, if Li Dun agreed, wouldn't he be the one who ruined his family's marriage for his sake? That would be too pathetic. Li Dun thought for a while and said, however, if my cousin is really using our Li family's power to take advantage of the opportunity to get flower rain, then it really isn't something honorable. It won't end well for either of them. As long as it's proven that Flower Rain really doesn't want to marry my cousin, I can still say a few words for her. Yang Cheng looked at Li Dun carefully for the first time. He suddenly liked this guy. Of course, this like didn't have any special meaning. It was just that he admired Li Dun's character. Not arrogant, confident, rational, and considerate of others. It was rare for a disciple of a big family to have this kind of character. Apart from Yuan Yi, who he met back then, it was Yang Chen's first time meeting a male friend in China who was willing to make friends with him. Of course, Yang Chen was too busy with the women around him to care about him, so he didn't have the time to care about men. You're a good person. You're willing to tell the truth. I can't be too stingy. Yang Cheng smiled and said, even if you can't help me now, if you really want to fight, I'll fight with you. Li Dun's sad expression turned into joy, and he laughed. He reached out and patted Yang Cheng's shoulder, saying, as expected of a man with Pluto's godhood, you're a good man. Then I won't hold back. If you want to fight, come with me to find a spacious place to fight. After all, it was not convenient to fight in a public place like the hospital. So, Yang Cheng didn't have any objections and agreed. At this time, Sky Dragon and Yi Zi, who had just chased after Yang Cheng, saw that he was about to leave. Yi Zi asked anxiously, Brother Yang, are you really going to fight with young Masterly? Yang Cheng touched his nose and smiled. It's hard to refuse such kindness. But don't worry, it's just a friendly match. I won't hurt you too much. It's fine if you hurt me too much. I don't get hurt that easily. Li Dun puffed out his chest. Sky Dragon couldn't help but look at him like he was an idiot and sighed. If that's the case, we won't stop you. We'll still be around you. Just call us if you need us. Most of the matters in the hospital had been resolved. After Tang Wan's blood test, she could be discharged from the hospital and returned to the Tang residence. Yang Cheng's first mission in Beijing had been completed. As for finding the person who poisoned Tang Wan, Yang Cheng wasn't in a hurry. He could go to the Tang residence after his fight with Li Dun. There was no perfect crime in this world. Yang Cheng, who had been committing crimes for the past decade, was certain of that. About half an hour later, Yang Cheng arrived at a special training base outside the 5th Ring Road in Li Dun's military Hummer. When the soldiers at the checkpoint saw Li Dun's car, they saluted respectfully and let them pass. After the car entered the heavily guarded checkpoint, there was a spacious drill ground. Around the drill ground were simple bungalows of different sizes. With one look, one could tell that these bungalows were made of luxurious materials. Even if there was an earthquake and the ground cracked, the houses might not collapse. Yang Cheng got out of the car and looked around curiously. There were many solemn and sweaty soldiers passing by in groups of 3 to 5. They were clearly in the middle of training. Looking at their physiques, they weren't any weaker than the Berserk Dragon Reserve team that the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade had asked them to train. Moreover, most of their temples were bulging. They should be soldiers who had trained in the body-hardening technique. Seeing that Yang Cheng was looking around with interest, Li Dun said proudly, "What do you think, Yang Cheng? These are my brothers. They're all elite Special Forces soldiers from all over the country." After some small talk in the car, the forthright Li Dun had already called out Yang Cheng's name. Yang Cheng nodded and only said 2 words, "Not bad." That was all he could say. Although these people were at the level of the Dragon Division's Special Forces, there was still a gap between them and the best in the world. Li Dun clearly felt that Yang Cheng was being too stingy, but he didn't mind. He made a pleased gesture and led Yang Cheng to a training room. Along the way, the Special Forces soldiers he met all showed respect when they saw Li Dun. They saluted and greeted, "Greetings, Commander," and watched as Li Dun walked away. Yang Cheng asked curiously, "What regiment are you from?" Li Dun looked at Yang Cheng in surprise. "You really don't know?" Yang Cheng was puzzled. Should he know? Li Dun said gloomily. My regiment's name is related to my name. It's called the Blunt Blade Special Forces. Blunt Blade? Yang Chung frowned. He had never heard of it before. This was originally a special forces unit under the Security Bureau, but now it's an independent designation. I'm sure you know that other than being in charge of the Security Bureau, the Li family also controls the designations of most of the Huaxia Special Forces. This Blunt Blade is a collection of the nation's elites. Every year, there will be people who are kicked out, and those who are selected are the best of the best, Li Dun said. Yang Chung was interested in the name. Who named it Blunt Blade? Chapter 634. Li Dun shook his head. It was named by an expert during the founding of the nation. There's no way to verify it. I've thought about it before, but no matter how hard I tried to explain it, it just didn't make sense. I guess it was just a whim of that senior, and I've been using it ever since. Yang Chung smiled and didn't say anything else. Finally, they arrived at an empty training room. It was unknown who leaked the news, but many of the Blunt Blade soldiers in the training base knew that their commander was going to spar with the legendary Netherworld King, who had just returned from overseas. The crowd quickly gathered in the training room. Fortunately, the room was big enough that it wasn't too crowded with dozens of soldiers standing around the ring. Li Dun was still very cautious. He walked up to the ring, took off his jacket, and stretched his muscles before facing Yang Chung with a serious expression. Yang Chung was actually very casual, but in order not to let Li Dun feel that he was looking down on him, he also pretended to turn his waist and yawn secretly. Li Dun got into a fighting stance, and the moment he was about to make a move, his entire aura changed dramatically. It was as if a sleeping lion had suddenly awakened, and a domineering aura surged from his body. Yang Chung frowned slightly. This guy must have killed a lot of people on the battlefield, and his murderous aura had changed qualitatively, turning into a murderous aura. Li Dun was obviously a master of inner force, or else he wouldn't have been able to become one of the two kings of Yanjing at such a young age if he only practiced body hardening techniques. Although he didn't know which sect Li Dun practiced inner force, Yang Chung could feel that it was an extremely unyielding technique, because at that moment, when Li Dun used his inner force, the air seemed to become violent. Seeing that Yang Chung didn't move, Li Dun's eyes flashed coldly. I won't hold back. In the blink of an eye, Li Dun's body disappeared. His speed reminded Yang Chung of the general of Takamagura, the guy called Narirahayan, whom he had met on the cruise. The soldiers around them cheered loudly. Although they had heard of Yang Chen's reputation, they had never interacted with him before. They always felt that his reputation was undeserved. If they were to really compare him to their commander, he was on a completely different level. Li Dun's explosive power drew cheers from the crowd. Yang Chun quietly shifted his feet. It was a seemingly unintentional movement, but the moment he steadied himself, Li Dun's fist had already swept across his chest, hitting nothing but air. Li Dun did not think that he would be able to hit Yang Chung. His arm, which was about a meter in front of Yang Chung, suddenly exploded with energy. The muffled sound of the air was deafening. Yang Chung couldn't help but be a little surprised. It was actually releasing true qi. He hadn't carefully checked Li Dun's cultivation before, but now it seemed that he had stepped into the Xiantian realm. It was just the tip of the iceberg, but with this realm alone, he was not inferior to Abbess Yun Miao, Yang Lai, and the others. In terms of combat flexibility and attainment, he was even higher. No wonder they were called the two kings of Yanjing. Yellow Flame Iron Brigade didn't have a true Xiantian realm master. Li Dun might have only broken through recently, or else he wouldn't have heard Abbess Yun Miao say that Xiantian realm masters were almost extinct. Thinking about it was one thing, but since Li Dun was putting in so much effort, Yang Chung had to respect his efforts. Feeling the hot true qi approaching, Yang Chung knew that he would be fine even if he was hit directly, but he still waved his hand and deflected the true qi. Li Dun didn't expect Yang Chung to easily deflect his sudden attack. His fighting spirit rose, and he once again threw a series of invisible punches at Yang Cheng's face. Yang Chen's two hands were already in front of him. Every time his fists landed, the air was filled with the sound of popping beans, as if it was prearranged. What shocked the soldiers was that from afar, Li Dun was jumping up and down to attack Yang Chun from left to right. Yang Chun, on the other hand, was standing at the same spot from the beginning. All he did was change his direction to block the attacks. To Yang Chun, the purpose of this battle was to make a friend with Li Dun. Nothing else mattered. If Li Dun was at his current level when he had just returned to the country, he might have been able to fight with him while he was not unsealed. But now, even unsealed was no longer a very high level for him. The ones that Yang Chun was interested in were Yin San Yang and Ling Shuzi from Hongmeng. He didn't even need to move his eyelids to deal with Li Dun. However, Yang Chun couldn't defeat Li Dun too easily. After all, there were so many people watching, and they were all his subordinates. If Li Dun was killed instantly, it would be a huge blow to Li Dun's reputation. Therefore, Yang Chun let Li Dun attack for as long as possible, and at the same time, let Li Dun unleash his full strength. Gradually, Li Dun's Xiantian True Qi was unleashed to the extreme. From afar, it looked like a ball of fire had engulfed Yang Chun, and the temperature in the training room had risen. But the more it was like this, the more the soldiers felt that the engulfed Yang Chun was a little scary. From the beginning to the end, Yang Chun did not move an inch. No matter what Li Dun did, Yang Chun would still take it on. Finally, Li Dun leaped away and landed about 10 meters away from Yang Chun. He was panting heavily, and sweat was dripping down his face, but he had a satisfied smile on his face. "I knew you were strong, but I didn't expect you to be this strong." Li Dun wiped the sweat off his face and said, "I haven't taken it off for a long time, but today I can take it off without any hesitation." "Take it off? Take what off?" Yang Chun was confused by Li Dun's random words. The soldiers around them gasped in surprise. They clearly knew what Li Dun meant by take it off. Li Dun was going to take off his blindfold. This young man always wore an eye patch on his right eye, looking a little like a pirate. Yang Chun had always thought that he was blinded because he was injured on the battlefield, but it turned out that he was purposely wearing an eye patch to hide something. "Something happened to my right eye when I was 5 years old, and I lost my sight. I couldn't find the cause, and neither medicine nor surgery could do anything about it. In the end, under the guidance of an expert, my grandfather sent me to an old living Buddha in the Tibetan Tantric sect for treatment. That living Buddha became my Sifu, and all my skills were taught by him." As Li Dun spoke, he had already taken off his eye patch and tossed it aside. The closed right eye finally began to slowly open. Black. It was completely black. Yang Chun realized that Li Dun's right eye had no eyeball. It was just a black hole, and he had no idea what was inside. "My right eye couldn't be cured in the end, but after Sifu gave me some tantra medicine, it suddenly changed. My right eye regained its sight, and I can see things. But it also brought something else." As soon as Li Dun's voice trailed off, Yang Chun felt something approaching his waist. Yang Chun instinctively dodged to the side, but it was too late. A fist brushed past his waist, and the true Qi tore a small hole in his shirt. For the first time, Yang Chun was hit, even if it was his shirt. At the same time, Li Dun, who was originally 10 meters away, disappeared. This time, Yang Chun was really shocked. The one who spoke just now was Li Dun's afterimage, be it Li Dun's speed or strength. After he revealed that strange right eye, he actually improved by leaps and bounds. As someone who could create afterimages, Yang Chun knew very well that being fast didn't mean that you could use afterimages in battle. Even afterimages had different levels. Li Dun's afterimage almost fooled him. It required an extremely strong body to do that, because the atmosphere of pressure that the body had to withstand while moving was not something that could be withstood by normal sturdy. If the one-eyed Li Dun was an early stage innate stage master, then the transformed Li Dun could definitely be a mid-stage innate stage master. But at the end of the day, the main reason why he could meet Yang Chun was because Yang Chun was unprepared. Li Dun let go of his hand and smiled. "Because my right eye is too special, I don't use it unless it's a life-and-death situation. That would hinder my real progress. But now I won't hold back." Chapter 635. Without waiting for Yang Chun to say anything, Li Dun launched another attack. This time, Li Dun attacked with all his might and speed. The entire arena was filled with his afterimages. And Li Dun's power went from the original muffled sound of the air to the sound of an explosion. Bam, 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 bam. Countless Li Dun were like the special effects in a sci-fi movie, mixed with burning true chi, attacking Yang Cheng from all directions. Yang Cheng couldn't help but sigh. If he hadn't met Li Dun would probably be the #1 innate stage cultivator in Huaxia. Among the younger generation, Li Dun should be the strongest. Yang Lai may have improved rapidly, but it was all thanks to medicine and Kunlun techniques. His real combat ability might not even be half of Li Dun's. But the gap was still a gap, and Yang Cheng didn't have the habit of deliberately losing a match. Since Li Dun had used all his strength, it was time to end the fight. At that moment, Li Dun's heavy punch came down from the sky. If the ground were to withstand the force of this punch, it would be enough to create a crater several meters deep. Yang Cheng looked up, and his hand suddenly sped up, grabbing Li Dun's wrist. The people below the arena couldn't see these rapid movements. All they saw was Li Dun's body being dragged from the sky to the ground and placed in front of Yang Cheng. Li Dun was shocked. He had used all his strength in his punch, but Yang Cheng picked it like a fruit and placed it in front of him. But even though his right hand was grabbed, his left hand was still there. Li Dun's internal true chi was extremely domineering. His left fist was like red-hot steel, and it went straight for Yang Cheng's chest. Although it was a friendly match, Li Dun also knew that even if Yang Cheng was hit, he wouldn't die. In fact, he had underestimated Yang Cheng. Bam! The punch hit Li Dun's vitals. Yang Cheng took the punch with his chest. However, after the punch was over, all of his true energy and strength disappeared without a trace. Yang Cheng grinned, grabbed Li Dun's right hand, and did a seemingly slow shoulder throw. Like a fish caught by the tail, Li Dun leaped over Yang Cheng's head and landed on the ground. Tisk! With a dull thud, Li Dun's body was embedded into the marble floor of the arena. The entire practice room shook violently, stone chips flew everywhere, and a crater was formed. If Li Dun was a normal person, he would have been smashed into meat paste by now. But Yang Cheng knew that Li Dun's bones would only ache. His body was protected by the innate chi, and it would not be hurt by such a fall. The entire place was silent. If there was any sound, it would be the sound of the soldiers swallowing their saliva. Li Dun lay in the crater, staring blankly at Yang Cheng, speechless. This was the first time in his life that he lost after taking off his blindfold, and he didn't even feel the slightest bit angry. Yang Cheng didn't know if smoking was allowed here, but he hadn't had the chance to smoke since he came to Yinjin. Now that he was free, he couldn't help but light up one and puff out a smoke ring. Looking down, Yang Cheng smiled and said, "I don't know if I'm right, but I think the reason why your team is called Blunt Blade is not because of that expert. As the saying goes, a heavy sword without a sharp edge. Although a sharp treasured sword could cut through gold and jade, a thick and blunt sword could shatter anything as long as it had unparalleled absolute strength. You're right, I allows you to use dazzling techniques, but the difference in strength between us is too great. No matter how you hit me, I just need to use my absolute strength to overwhelm you, and all your efforts will be in vain." That expert is probably trying to tell you not to try to be opportunistic and not to belittle yourself. Keep improving yourself. Absolute strength is the key to becoming the strongest special forces. Li Dun listened and stared blankly at Yang Cheng for a long time before he smiled bitterly. "I admit defeat," Yang Cheng said. "You don't have to think that you're weak. I put in a lot of effort to get to where I am today. You should be proud of yourself for having such strength at such a young age." Yang Cheng didn't want to give Li Dun too much a blow. In fact, the gap between him and Li Dun was immeasurable, but he had to give a young man some hope, right? But when Li Dun heard this, he rolled his eyes. "As far as I know, you're younger than me." Yang Cheng immediately blushed. Oh no, he kept forgetting that he was still a young man. TSK. He could only blame the women around him for worrying him so much that his hair was about to turn white. He didn't even have the chance to enjoy his youth. In any case, at least Li Dun didn't have any other thoughts. He saw the difference in strength and decided to just be friends from now on. After Yang Chung pulled Li Dun out of the pit, the two left the training room together. The soldiers all stepped back, but this time, no one thought of saluting Li Dun. Everyone looked at Yang Chung as if he was a monster. There was respect in their eyes, but no fear. No matter how strong Yang Chung was, they were not afraid of him. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi went to hide somewhere and didn't come to watch the fight. They probably knew the result and weren't interested. Although Li Dun's bones hurt, he wasn't really hurt. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. Now that he had acknowledged Yang Cheng's character and strength, they were more familiar with each other. Since it was noon, Li Dun smiled. It's rare for me to come to Yinjing. I'll do my best as a host and treat you as a friend. Let's find a restaurant and have a meal. I wonder if Brother Pluto would do us the honor? Yang Chung arrived in Yinjing early in the morning and went straight to the hospital to treat Tang Wan. Now that he came here to fight, his stomach was indeed empty. Although he wasn't hungry, it was a good habit to eat on time. He asked, I heard there's a good restaurant called Celestial World in Yinjing. Can you take me there? Li Dun hesitated for a while before he solemnly patted Yang Chen's shoulder. A while ago, Premier Ning gave a speech at the National People's Congress, asking us to cut down on expenses. The cost of non-dining in Tavern Heaven on Earth is too high. We're only allowed to eat but not enter. Let's go to another restaurant. I personally prefer the dishes from the Northwest. They have a strong taste, and spicy dishes make eating better. I know a restaurant that is especially authentic. Yang Chung was just saying it casually. He couldn't go overboard with his treat. Northwest-style food? So he asked, what do you want to eat? Big plate chicken or something like that. Li Dun said proudly, chicken is nothing. It's rare to make a friend. Of course I have to eat meat. It's beef and mutton. Yang Chun felt that little Li was too reliable. He was an honest person. However, after 10 minutes or so, when they arrived at the Northwest-style restaurant, Yang Chung wanted to tear the restaurant down. Are you talking about this restaurant? Yang Cheng's fingers trembled as he pointed at the banner on the door. There were cows and sheep everywhere with a green grassland in the background. Halal Land's How Ramen Restaurant. Yang Chun didn't expect that the eldest grandson of the Li clan, one of the 4 major clans, would treat someone to a meal of ramen. What he said about eating beef and mutton was indeed a big mouthful, but only one mouthful. But seeing that it was Li Dun who paid for the meal, Yang Chung tolerated it. Besides, the young master was enjoying his meal. He was just an unlucky kid who grew up eating dead people's meat. What was there to be picky about? After 2 bowls of ramen, Yang Chung felt that it was about time. He thought about it and realized that he still had some time in the afternoon. Tang Wan would probably be resting after she got home. He could visit her tomorrow or the day after. He could take this opportunity to go to Yulei International's branch in Beijing and check on Huilin. Huilin had recently released a new album and was about to hold her first solo concert. She should be very busy, and there was no one to accompany her. This time, he happened to be in Beijing. If he didn't visit her, it would be too unfair to this poor child. Li Dun, send me somewhere, Yang Chung said directly to Li Dun. Li Dun was drinking the last bit of soup in his ramen. He asked with a muffled voice, Sure, where are you going? I'm going to Yulei International's branch in Beijing, Yang Chung said. Li Dun took out his phone and searched for something. After a while, he said, Yulei International's branch is at the easternmost part of the 5th Ring Road. It's at least an hour and a half away from here. If I were to drive my car there, it would consume a lot of gas. I'll have to drive home again. I think you should take a taxi. The corner of Yang Cheng's mouth twitched. Is everyone in the Li family so thrifty? Damn it, if you don't use the Hummer, can't you get someone to drive a Xiaoli? Li Dun patted Yang Cheng's shoulder. I don't care if others can solve it. I'll start saving the Earth's energy from now on. I'm a soldier and I don't watch much TV. I'm sure you understand. Yang Chung realized something. The word friend was perfect when you weren't familiar with it. But once you got closer, you would realize that it was full of holes. Yang Chung couldn't be bothered to talk to Li Dun anymore. He went out and hailed a taxi. As for Sky Dragon and Yi Zi, he naturally couldn't ask them to babysit forever. If they were willing, Yang Chung would feel uncomfortable. But Li Dun ran out and greeted Yang Chung, who was about to get into the taxi. Watch carefully, Don't get into an illegal taxi. Remember to ask the driver to check the meter. Chapter 636. The regretful Yang Cheng waited for an hour and a half until they arrived at the branch of Yulei International. Only then did he calm down. Along the way, he wanted to jump out of the car and beat Li Dun up again, but he held back in the end. It was a bad decision to make friends. Fortunately, they had only known each other for half a day. It would be best if they didn't meet each other in the future. That was how men were. They would act cool when they didn't know each other, but they would be flirtatious when they got to know each other. The branch of Yulei International was located in the upper half of a standalone office building. It had a total of more than 10 floors. In a place like Beijing, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, such wealth was quite terrifying. Yang Cheng had already called Hui Lin when he was in the car. However, although Hui Lin's phone was connected, she didn't pick up. This made Yang Cheng a little uncertain if she was in the company. He decided to come and take a look first. They took the elevator to the floor where the front desk of Yulei International was located. Yang Cheng ran to the two beautiful female employees at the front desk and asked with a smile, "May I know if Miss Hui Lin is in the company?" One of the female employees smiled and asked, "Sir, are you talking about Miss Hui Lin?" Only then did Yang Cheng remember that Hui Lin was her Taoist name. Now that she was a celebrity, she had changed it to Lin Hui. "Yes, I'm her family member. I would like to meet her," said Yang Cheng. The female employee shook her head apologetically. "I'm sorry, sir. You can't meet Miss Hui Lin without an appointment. Also, you haven't proved that you are her family member." Yang Cheng was a little depressed. Speaking of which, he was the director of Yulei Entertainment. He was in charge of this branch of Yulei International. He wanted to meet someone in his own company, but he was rejected. Yang Cheng had no choice but to say, "I'm your director. I'm Yang Cheng. I'm not an outsider." The two female employees suddenly giggled. They looked at Yang Cheng up and down playfully. "Sir, do you have a name card?" Yang Cheng was stunned. Name card? Zhao Tong did give him a box in the past, but he had never used it. He didn't have the habit of carrying it with him either. What a mistake. Seeing that Yang Cheng couldn't take out anything, the receptionist was even more convinced. She despised Yang Cheng several times in her heart. Although Yang Cheng's clothes were branded, he was too simple, and he wasn't handsome. The female receptionist thought that the branded clothes on this man were probably all fake. They didn't believe that such a person was the director of the company, Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng scratched his head and had an idea. He said to the receptionist, "How about this? Don't you have a computer? Check the company's information. There should be a photo of me, right? You can confirm it after taking a look." The receptionist was helpless, but seeing that Yang Cheng seemed to be very serious, she could only casually search the company's internal archives. When they found director Yang Cheng's photo, the two female receptionists revealed puzzled expressions. They raised their heads and compared the man in front of them. It felt like it really was the same person. "Beautiful ladies, do you believe me now? I'm just not wearing a suit and tie." Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. The receptionist smiled awkwardly. "See? Oh no, Director Yang, I didn't expect it to be you. We just started working in the company not long ago, so we're not familiar with each other. I'm sorry. It's fine. You're just doing your job." Yang Cheng was generous. After all, the company had just been established, and everyone was new. He then asked again, "Is Hui Lin in the company now?" The receptionist replied, "Yes, Miss Hui Lin is in the studio one floor above. Deputy Director Zhuang is in a meeting." Due to the company's location in Beijing, it was impossible to manage too many things remotely. Therefore, the daily administration of the company was managed by a deputy director named Zhuang Feng. Yang Cheng had only heard of this person, but he had never seen him before. After finally finding out where Hui Lin was, Yang Cheng immediately turned around and walked towards the elevator. At the same time, he sighed. It was so hard to get things done in an unfamiliar place. Actually, Yang Cheng could only blame himself for not having any travel experience. He didn't ask the company to send someone to get things done in advance. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so troublesome. The two female receptionists looked at Yang Cheng's back with a strange expression on their faces. It was obvious that their company's director looked like this in real life. It was a blow to their hearts. Ding dong. The elevator went up another floor. After Yang Chung came out, he looked around and walked towards the conference room. When he arrived at the black-red door of the conference room, Yang Chen noticed that there were two men in short-sleeved military uniforms guarding the door. Yang Chung could easily tell that these two were skilled Special Forces soldiers. Even if you lay international hired security guards, they wouldn't wear military uniforms, let alone Special Forces soldiers. The only explanation was that there were outsiders here. Yang Chung frowned. He didn't think too much about it and walked up to knock on the door. But the two soldiers directly blocked in front of Yang Chung and said coldly, "Unrelated people are not allowed in for now. Go." Yang Chung ignored them and shouted towards the door of the conference room. "Hui Lin, your brother Yang is here to find you. Open the door." If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely be embarrassed to shout in the company. But Yang Chung didn't care. Although he could knock down the two soldiers in the blink of an eye, it was better to be obedient if he could solve it with his mouth. Before he left, Sister Lin had told him to be lenient when possible. This shout was mixed with some inner strength, so the people inside could definitely hear it. As expected, there was a commotion from inside. Hui Lin's familiar voice called out in surprise, "Brother Yang." Then, she ran towards the door. When the door opened, Yang Chung finally saw Hui Lin, who he had not seen for a long time. Now that she had become a superstar, her makeup was carefully selected by a professional makeup artist and a stylist. She was no longer the young and immature girl she used to be. Her jet black hair was cut with a slanted fringe. She was wearing a light blue checkered top and a bright yellow pleated skirt. She had light eyeshadow and lip gloss on her. Hui Lin, who was originally just a pretty girl, after dressing up, the ethereal and quiet beauty that she had cultivated since she was a child on Mount Amei was vividly displayed. She also had the charm of a little woman, which really made people's eyes light up. Hui Lin's bright eyes were filled with joy. She almost pounced on Yang Chung and hugged him. "Brother Yang, why didn't you tell me you were coming?" Yang Chung shrugged and said gloomily, "I don't know how many times I called you, but you didn't pick up." Hui Lin was stunned. A trace of resentment appeared in her eyes. She turned around and asked a middle-aged woman in a black uniform, "Sister Mei Feng, why didn't you tell me that Brother Yang called?" Yang Chung looked into the conference room and saw that there were a few other people sitting in the conference room with different expressions on their faces. At the head of the conference table was a bespectacled middle-aged man in a beige suit. There were a few other men and women who seemed to be the company's management. The woman in the black uniform whom Hui Lin had questioned was also among them. "Yang Lai, he's here too." When Yang Chen's gaze came into contact with a terrifyingly gloomy young man in military uniform sitting at the innermost area, Yang Chen pursed his lips. No wonder there were soldiers guarding outside. If it was Yang Lai, then it made sense. Would the Yang family need soldiers to order them around? The two soldiers did not stop Yang Chung from shouting. They wanted to drag Yang Chung out of the room, but Yang Lai said, "You don't have to stand guard. You can leave now." Although the two soldiers were confused, they immediately obeyed and left. They did not know that Yang Lai did not want to have conflict with Yang Chung. At that moment, the woman in the black uniform responded coldly to Hui Lin's question. "Miss Hui Lin, as your manager, I have to be responsible for your work in life. Interacting with strangers will negatively affect your reputation. So, of course, I don't need to tell you about some unnecessary phone calls." Yang Chung frowned. Since when did Hui Lin have such an overbearing manager? Brother Yang is not a stranger. Hui Lin stomped her feet and pouted angrily. Then who is he to you?" Yang Lai, who was sitting inside, sneered and asked. Hui Lin was speechless. She gritted her teeth and glared at Yang Lai. She was innocent and would not lie. After all, her relationship with Yang Chung was mostly because of Lin Ruashi. She did not know who she was to Yang Chung. Yang Chung walked forward and patted Hui Lin's shoulder. He said to the crowd, "There seems to be a misunderstanding. I'm Yang Chung, the director of Yu Lei Entertainment. Hui Lin is my wife's younger sister, which means she's my sister-in-law. She's my family. I'm here to visit her. It should be okay, right? Get your filthy hands off me." The manager in black suddenly stood up and stared coldly at Yang Chung. She smiled disdainfully and said, "Do you think Hui Lin is so naive and easy to fool? Do you think we will be fooled by you? You're like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. I advise you to get out of here. Otherwise, don't blame us for sending you to the police station." The smile on Yang Cheng's face disappeared. He looked at her indifferently. If he had known about the relationship between this woman and Hui Lin, he would have slapped her. "Hui Lin, who is this woman with menopausal mania?" Yang Cheng asked in a deep voice. When the black-clothed woman heard this, she flew into a rage and snapped, "Watch your dog mouth. Do you want to go to jail?" When Hui Lin heard what the woman in black said about Yang Cheng, she was also angry. She said angrily, "She's the woman that Yang Lai forced into the company to be my manager. Everyone calls her Sister Mei Feng. They say she's a very capable manager and has many A-list artists under her management. Does that mean it has nothing to do with you?" Yang Cheng asked. Hui Lin nodded. "Yes, she taught me some things. The rest is nothing. I'm sorry, Brother Yang. Sister Mei Feng said that I'm an artist now, and I can't answer any phone calls. That's why I left my phone with her. I didn't know you were calling me. So it'd be *TCH that someone forced to be by Hui Lin's side." Yang Cheng grinned. Mei Feng's face was livid. She looked as if she wanted to swallow Yang Cheng alive. She said in a displeased tone, "Miss Hui Lin, you're my artist and you've signed a contract with me. Don't blame me for not taking responsibility for your career when the time comes." It was you who went overboard first, Sister Mei Feng." Hui Lin was also angry and her face was red. The atmosphere was tense. The man in the beige suit could no longer hold back. He stood up with a smile and tried to smooth things over. "So it's Director Yang. I'm so sorry I didn't receive any notice. Otherwise, I would have welcomed you. I'm Zhuang Feng, the deputy director here. It's our first time meeting each other. Please don't take offense, Director Yang." Zhuang Feng had obviously been in the workplace for many years. He stepped forward warmly and stood between Yang Cheng and Mei Feng. He shook Yang Cheng's hand regardless of whether he was willing or not. He said, "Director Yang, we were just discussing the details of Miss Hui Lin's first concert. It's great that you're here. Let's discuss it together. What I want to know is, why is that person in my company?" Yang Cheng pointed at Yang Lai, who was standing behind him. Zhuang Feng hurriedly explained that Major General Yang is the new general of the Beijing Garrison Army. He's Miss Hui Lin's old friend, and he's here to help Miss Hui Lin. He then whispered into Yang Cheng's ear, "Director Yang, it's better to avoid trouble. Miss Mei Feng's status in the entertainment industry and the upper class of society is very high. The artists under her are all big shots that no one can afford to offend. And that Major General Yang is the eldest grandson of the Yang family in Beijing. Businessmen like us can't afford to offend either of them. Even if General Lin were here personally, he would have to endure it." Yang Cheng had not expected Yang Lai to become a major general in Beijing after not seeing him for so long. It seemed like the status of the Yang family had not dropped much because of Yang Pejuan's defeat. Otherwise, it would be too much of a stretch to become a general at such a young age without any military achievements. At this moment, Yang Lai stood up with a cold smile and said, "I'm the exclusive sponsor of this concert, and I'm also responsible for Huier's safety. Of course I should be here. On the other hand, you're just a son of a bitch who lives off a woman. How dare you barge into a meeting like this? You really have no upbringing. TSK, that's right. It's your fault for not having parents to look after you since you were young." Yang Cheng glanced at Yang Lai calmly. He did not show any anger, as if he could not be bothered with him. Instead, he walked straight towards Mei Feng. Chapter 637. "What? Now that you know who I am, you want to kneel down?" Mei Feng sneered. Mei Feng had been in the entertainment industry for many years, and many of the artists under her management were superstars and queens. She was one of the most unreachable managers in the Asian entertainment industry. She was also the vice president of an entertainment company. If it wasn't for Yang Lai's powerful background, she wouldn't have signed a newcomer like Hui Lin in such a short time. Even though Hui Lin had Kristen's approval, Mei Feng didn't think much of it. Hence, she had the right to be arrogant, and with the support of the Yang family, Mei Feng took over the reins of power. She didn't take Yulei Entertainment, a newly established entertainment company, seriously. Yulei International was indeed at its peak, but in the entertainment industry, Mei Feng was the one who could call the shots. In her opinion, as long as Hui Lin wanted to stay in the entertainment industry, no one would dare to go against her. In fact, if it wasn't for Yang Lai's forceful interference, Yulei Entertainment would have been in charge of Hui Lin's debut. This was because Lin Ruoshi wanted to give Hui Lin a good platform to develop her singing career. Naturally, she wouldn't have hired a manager from outside. But Yulei International was just a company, and it was too easy for a young master like Yang Lai, who had a military background and a government background, to interfere. Although Hui Lin hated Yang Lai, she was a gentle person with little social experience. Abbess Yin Miao, who could protect her in Beijing, couldn't possibly control her too much. Forcefully stopping Yang Lai from getting close to Hui Lin wasn't in line with the Lin family's position. The moment Mei Feng took over as Hui Lin's manager, she cut off most of Hui Lin's contact with the people around her. This was why Yang Cheng and the others didn't know that Hui Lin had changed managers. Yang Cheng smiled brightly at the arrogant female manager. "You just said you want me to go to jail, so I want to give you a chance." Mei Feng stared coldly at Yang Cheng, not understanding what Yang Cheng was trying to say. But the next second, Mei Feng had no time to think. Without warning, Yang Cheng raised his left hand and grabbed Mei Feng's neck like a pair of steel pincers. Mei Feng's eyes widened, and in her panic, her body felt light as she was lifted into the air. Mei Feng howled dryly, unable to speak. She kicked and kicked, but to no avail. Her face began to turn red, and she began to gasp for air. "Director Yang, please don't do it." Big Brother Yang, Zhuang Feng, and Hui Lin were a little anxious. Although Mei Feng wasn't a good person, she was a well-known figure in the entertainment industry. If something were to happen to her in Yulei Entertainment, it would definitely cause an uproar. On the other hand, Yang Lai looked at Yang Cheng mockingly, as if to say, "Let's see if you have the guts to do it." Yang Cheng ignored the warnings of the people around him and walked over to the window of the conference room. He looked out of the window expressionlessly. They were on the 40th floor of the building. Looking down, the cars looked like matchboxes, and the bottom of the building was an empty street. Mei Feng was almost out of breath. Her eyes rolled back and her body went limp. Without hesitation, Yang Cheng flung Mei Feng toward the window like a hammer. Bang! The glass and the surrounding alloy couldn't withstand Yang Chen's powerful swing and shattered into pieces. Mei Feng's body fell to the ground along with the sharp shards of metal. Murder! The other female executives in the conference room screamed, their faces pale as they rushed out of the door, not daring to stay a second longer. Zhuang Feng was also stunned. He had thought that Yang Cheng was only going to scare Mei Feng. He didn't expect him to kill her. And it was such a terrifying killing technique. On the 40th floor, her body smashed through the reinforced glass and bumper, then fell to the concrete floor. She would have been smashed into a meat patty. Sky Dragon and Yezi happened to be having afternoon snacks in an Infinity SUV in a parking lot downstairs of the building. They had followed Yang Cheng all the way here, but did not follow him. After all, they were only keeping an eye on Yang Cheng's movements, not watching him closely. That would incur Yang Cheng's displeasure, and that was not what they wanted to see. Come to think of it, in Yulei's company, Yang Cheng would just meet Huilin in Beijing. There wouldn't be any problem. However, before they could finish their desserts, they saw a woman dressed in black descending from the sky. Bang! There was a muffled sound, and blood splattered everywhere. The two of them were stunned for a long time before Yizi said in a trembling voice, Brother Sky Dragon, how did this happen?" Sky Dragon seemed to have realized something as he sighed in pain. "It's over. General Kai told us to keep an eye on Yang Chun and not let him cause any trouble in Beijing. Now, we're really too embarrassed to face anyone." In the conference room, Zhuang Feng was about to pee his pants. He regretted coming to work at Yulei Entertainment. What kind of company was this? How could there be such a person as his superior? After all, Huilin wasn't an ordinary girl. Although she was greatly shocked, she didn't feel too sad for Mei Feng's death. From her point of view, Mei Feng had angered Yang Chun, so it wasn't strange for her to die. However, Yang Chen's actions would definitely cause some trouble. which made her eyes filled with worry. Clap, clap, clap. Yang Lai suddenly clapped his hand with a smile and stood up. Good, good courage, good kill. Mei Feng had been killed, but as the employer, he did not show any dissatisfaction. In fact, he was very happy, as if he had expected this. Yang Cheng said calmly, "Did you think that by doing this, you could lure the people from Hongmeng to start a war with me and defeat me? Perhaps your stupid plan worked, but if you want to die, I don't mind sending you off now." It was obvious that Mei Feng was just a stupid pawn. She was unknowingly used by Yang Lai to provoke Yang Cheng and cause Yang Cheng to start a massacre in Yinjing. And this time, Yang Lai had indeed found Yang Cheng's weakness. He had started with Hui Lin and publicly humiliated Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng would not tolerate such a method. Yang Lai laughed maniacally, his face contorted. "You want me to die? Fine. Bring it on. You're right. I want you to be killed by the people from Hongmeng. Do you really think that you're invincible? Do you think that with the old man protecting you, you can sit back and relax? I won't let you have a good life. Come and kill me. Kill me. Kill the grandson of the Yang family. Let's see if Hongmeng will still sit back and watch. As you wish." As soon as Yang Cheng finished speaking, his body flashed and appeared in front of Yang Lai. Even though Yang Lai had the help of Kunlun's elixirs and was talented, he was still young. He had not entered the Xiantian realm yet. As soon as Yang Cheng got close, Yang Lai immediately felt an overwhelming pressure that made it hard for him to breathe. Mustering up his cultivation, Yang Lai tried to stand up straight in front of Yang Cheng. But no matter how hard he tried to resist, he found that the space around him was starting to shrink like a plastic bottle, wrapping around his entire body. His arms and legs were constricted and could not be extended. Gradually, the veins on Yang Lai's body bulged and his blood boiled. In the end, he knelt down on the ground. Just the true core force that Yang Cheng casually emitted was not something that Yang Lai could withstand. Even though Yang Lai was unwilling, he was shocked. This man has become stronger again. What kind of monster is he? Huilin also had a certain level of martial arts cultivation base, and naturally saw some things, and opened her small mouth in surprise. She realized that Yang Chen's cultivation base had exceeded the scope of martial arts she could imagine. "In my eyes, you're no different from trash." Yang Cheng looked down at Yang Lai, who was kneeling on the ground, and said slowly, "I don't believe that with your intelligence, you can come up with such a way to lure me to attack Hongmeng, because you're not good enough to understand Hongmeng. Besides, the Yang family would not give you money to invest in Hui Lin's concert. So, someone must have instructed you to do all this." Yang Lai raised his head with difficulty and said with his teeth trembling, "Humph, so I'm not the only one who wants you dead." "I will not tell you," Yang Chen sneered. "I didn't ask you to tell me either. There have always been people who wanted me dead, but I'm still alive and well. Those people might not even be standing in front of me. If you don't want to tell me, I won't ask. I will send you off." Seeing that Yang Cheng was about to take Yang Lai away, Hui Lin could not help but shout, "Brother Yang, don't." Hui Lin's words were effective. Yang Cheng paused and looked at the girl. "Brother Yang, if you kill Yang Lai, Aunt Shua will be very sad. You are brothers after all." Hui Lin was very afraid, but she felt that if she did not stop Yang Cheng, Guo would be too sad in the end. No one in the family would be happy, and she would regret it. Chapter 638. I don't have such a bastard brother. If you want to kill me, do it quickly. I don't have time to waste with you. Hearing Hui Lin's plea, Yang Lai's eyes were filled with rage. His eyes were bloodshot, and he said viciously. The look in Yang Cheng's eyes changed rapidly. It was not that he did not consider Guo. Without Guo, Yang Lai would have died a long time ago. However, if he kept Yang Lai alive, he would definitely not give up. He was definitely a hidden danger. After a long time, Yang Cheng let out a sigh and said, "I once crippled you, but I also saved you. Now it seems that it was not a good thing to save you. Based on your nature, you should just be an ordinary person from now on." Yang Lai seemed to realize something. He shouted hoarsely, "Son of a B***, if you have the guts, give me a quick death." It was useless for him to beg for death. One of Yang Cheng's hands was placed on Yang Lai's head. A stream of scorching true core went straight into Yang Lai's limbs and bones. Yang Lai let out a painful scream. Several white, gaseous wisps spread out from the top of his head, and then he fainted. Huilin, who was next to her, covered her small mouth. Of course, she knew that Yang Chun had destroyed Yang Lai's dantian and 8 extraordinary meridians with his much stronger cultivation base, and abolished Yang Lai's cultivation base. When Yang Lai woke up, he was no different from an ordinary person. In fact, he was even weaker than an ordinary person. He was completely crippled. He would never have the chance to cultivate his inner force again. For an expert, to suddenly vanish into the crowd was worse than killing him. Such a punishment was no less than killing him. However, Huilin knew that this was Yang Cheng's biggest concession. What Yang Lai had done was challenging Yang Cheng's bottom line. After Yang Chun was done, he said to the dumbfounded Zhuang Feng, "Deputy Director Zhuang, clean up this place and send this person to a random hospital." Zhuang Feng suddenly came to his senses. He looked at Yang Cheng with fear in his eyes. Although he was confused, he realized that Director Yang was not an ordinary person. He did not dare to ask any more questions and quickly followed Yang Cheng's instructions. However, he was already staggering when he walked, which was quite difficult for him. It took nearly an hour for the disturbance to calm down. Zhuang Feng gathered the executives who witnessed Yang Chen's murder and asked them to keep their mouths shut. It wasn't a difficult task, as these people had long been frightened by Yang Chen. How would they dare to gossip? Sky Dragon and Yi Zi also secretly used the police to arrange for Mei Feng's death to be an accident. This way, it would only be a matter of the entertainment industry and would not affect society. Zhuang Feng didn't expect that the most troublesome issue of Mei Feng's death could be covered up by someone else. He couldn't help but feel shocked. Director Yang's background was unfathomable, so he was especially cautious and didn't dare to be careless with Yang Chun. After the matter was settled, it was back to work. In Zhuang Feng's office, Zhuang Feng made a cup of tea for Yang Cheng. He asked respectfully, "Director Yang, although Sister Mei Feng deserves to die, Miss Wei Lin's new album release and concert are about to start. It will be difficult without a manager. What do you suggest, Director Yang?" Hui Lin sat beside Yang Cheng, blinking her eyes in anticipation. What happened just now did not affect her much. Instead, Yang Cheng listened to her advice at the last minute and did not kill Yang Lai. This made her very happy. She felt that it was wonderful that Yang Cheng listened to her. "Vice President Zhuang, I'll tell you the truth." Yang Cheng knew that he had scared Zhuang Feng, so he tried to speak gently. "Actually, Yulei Entertainment was founded by our General Lin for his sister, Lin Hui. He wanted to give her a clean environment, sing the songs she likes, and do the work she likes. So, from now on, if anyone wants to interfere with Lin Hui's business, let us know first. Don't let your guard down just because of some privileged people." Zhuang Feng was stunned. He realized that both Lin Ruoxi and Lin Hui's surname were Lin. So the CEO was Lin Hui's sister. As for Yang Cheng's use of the word "R," Zhuang Feng was confused, but he did not dare to ask. He smiled and said, "So it's the CEO's sister. Miss Wei Lin, why didn't you tell me earlier? I almost made a big mistake. If the CEO fired me, it would be so embarrassing. I've only been in office for less than half a year." Hui Lin bit her lip and lowered her head shyly. She did not know why, but she felt a little uncomfortable when Yang Cheng called her sister. "As for the manager, I'll send someone to invite a team over. Vice President Zhuang, you don't have to worry about this. From today onwards, as long as you take good care of Lin Hui, Yulei will treat you well," Yang Chen said. Yang Chen wasn't at ease to find someone he didn't know to be Huilin's manager. Instead of letting others take advantage of him, he might as well call some of his own people whom he could trust. As for who to hire, it could be Kristen. After all, she specialized in the entertainment industry. She should have quite a few professional teams. At the same time, he could also hire his butler, Ron, from Europe. That old man was also in the fashion industry. He would have no shortage of managers. He would just have to ask around and choose whoever was suitable. Zhuang Feng breathed a sigh of relief. It would be best if Yang Cheng could solve the problem. He smiled and said, "Of course, I'll do my best to protect Miss Wei Lin. However, I hope that Director Yang can arrange for a manager and team to come to the company as soon as possible. We don't have much time left. It will take some time to hand over the work at hand. Yang Chung was about to say that it was no problem when his phone vibrated. He took it out and saw that it was Tang Wan. He quickly picked it up and asked, "Why aren't you resting? You need some time to recover." On the other end of the line, Tang Wan seemed to be in a good mood. She said gently, "You're such a busy man. Why did you leave in such a hurry? Which lover did you go to see this time?" "If I have a lover in Beijing, it would be you," Yang Chung said helplessly. Tang Wan giggled. "Am I already your lover?" Yang Chung noticed that Hui Lin was staring at him with a gossipy gaze. He was afraid that Hui Lin would tell on him to Lin Ruashi. He coughed and said, "Let's not talk about this. What's the matter? I'm in the company dealing with some business. It's like this, Grandpa, and I think that we should invite you to our house for dinner to thank you. May I know if Uncle Yang would do us the honor?" Yang Chung smiled. "Of course. I'll eat and drink for free and save money for a meal. Text me the address. I'll go after I'm done with my business." After the meal was settled, Yang Chun hung up the phone and said to Zhuang Feng, "You don't have to worry about the manager team. They'll arrive in a day at most. As for the specific details, I'll give you my contact number. You could discuss it with the team." Yang Chung didn't have any professional knowledge. He could only bridge the gap. After talking about the company's recent situation, he followed Hui Lin to visit the Beijing branch office. In the end, they went to the recording studio to listen to a few songs from Hui Lin's new album. Even though Yang Chung didn't know much about music, he was stunned for a long time when he heard the songs that Hui Lin sang. Perhaps it was because she grew up on Mount Amei. Hui Lin's voice exuded a purity that seemed to be out of the secular world. Her natural singing made the songs that were a fusion of various genres of music full of classical charm. It could capture a special feeling in an instant. Zhuang Feng accompanied her the whole time. He praised there are a lot of singers nowadays, but those who can become the future heavenly king and queen all have the ability to differentiate themselves. Miss Hui Lin's voice can make anyone forget all their worries. I believe that after her official debut, she will soon become popular in Asia and even the world. Yang Chung nodded. He wasn't flattering her. At least, he felt that way. However, Hui Lin had to stay in Beijing to continue with her work. It was also time for Yang Chung to attend the Tang family banquet. As night fell, Hui Lin and Zhuang Feng sent them off reluctantly. They left the branch office reluctantly. This time, Yang Chung didn't take a taxi. Instead, he looked around and found the car that Sky Dragon and Yi Zi were in. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi seemed to have guessed that Yang Chung would come looking for them. They opened the car door early. Yang Chung sat in the comfortable infinity compartment and stretched. Looking at Sky Dragon and Yi Zi's depressed faces, he said happily, "I'm going to the Tang family for dinner. I think it's better for you to send me there. Otherwise, I won't be able to get a taxi." Sky Dragon sighed. "Yang Chun, you're too careless. Although Mei Feng isn't a big shot, it's easy to cause a chain reaction if you kill her. Also, what about Yang Lai? Do you really think that crippling his cultivation will make him behave?" Yang Chung scratched his ear and smiled. "What will come sooner or later. Since so many people want to use Hong Meng to deal with me, there's no point in hiding. If I back down because of my hesitation, those people will only go overboard. But I still have to thank you for your help. Don't worry, I won't drag you down at this critical moment." Sky Dragon wanted to say something, but Yeezy tugged at her husband and shook her head. Just as Yang Chung had said, there were some things that couldn't be avoided. Not long after, the car passed through the brightly lit streets and headed towards the Tang family's residence. Chapter 639. In the high-end single ward of the First People's Hospital of Yinjing, a young man sat on the bed in the dim light. His face was ashen and his eyes were dim, as if he was a walking corpse. The nurse who was changing the man's Ford didn't even dare to look at the man. After changing a bag of glucose, she immediately slipped out. The man in the hospital gown was Yang Lai, whose cultivation had been destroyed by Yang Chung. When Yang Lai woke up, he found himself lying in the hospital without any strength in his body. When he realized that his dantian was empty, he wanted to bite his tongue and commit suicide. After returning to Yinjing from Kunlun, Yang Pajuan arranged for him to become a major general of the garrison army. He was supposed to have a great future, but now he had become a cripple. Yang Lai didn't know how to face Yang Pejuan, and he didn't know how to face Yang Gongming. So, he was glad that the news hadn't spread, but when he thought that he would see them sooner or later, he wanted to disappear. But the deep resentment towards Yang Chung made him unwilling to die like this. At this time, the door of the ward opened again. A man in a white coat, unkempt and unkempt, walked to the side of the bed with an evil smile. TSK, TSK. It seems like you, who don't have any internal energy cultivation, are really weak. Why do you need to inject glucose? The person who came was Yin Buin. Yang Lai looked at him coldly and said gloomily, Yin Buin, you still have the face to come see me. Young Master Yang, what do you mean by this? You are my comrade. Your martial arts were destroyed. Of course I have to come and see you. Yin Buin said with a smile. Comrade, if it wasn't for your sour idea to get me involved in you Lay Entertainment's business and arrange for that stupid woman to be Hui Er's manager, saying something to provoke that son of a bitch, would I be where I am today? Yang Lai said emotionally. Yin Buin shook his finger. There is no problem with my plan. From the blood on Yang Cheng's hands, it can be seen that my plan is successful. You have to think carefully. In my plan, the goal was to let Yang Cheng kill someone in the end to attract the attention of the outside world and get closer to the people from Hongming. I didn't ask you to provoke Yang Chun and get him to destroy your cultivation base. You're the one who brought this upon yourself. What did you say? Yang Lai was infuriated. He wanted to stand up and punch Yin Buin, but he had already lost his cultivation and was now just an ordinary person. He barely managed to stand up and punch Yin Buin, but his fist was caught by Yin Buin. Don't touch me. You're not worthy. Yin Buin smirked and flung Yang Lai's soft fist away. Yang Lai was thrown onto the bed. His shoulders twitched, and he lowered his head. He actually cried in pain. Yin Buin watched silently. He didn't make a sound. There was no emotion in his eyes. After a long time, when Yang Lai was about to cry, Yin Buin said, Young Master Yang, do you want to become Yang Cheng? Yang Lai raised his head in a daze and asked in a daze, What? Let me ask you, do you want to become Yang Cheng? Do you want to have the same power as Yang Cheng or even stronger than Yang Cheng? Yin Buin's lips curled into a strange smile. Yang Lai was stunned. He wondered if he had heard wrongly. Yin Buin bent down, and his face was right in front of Yang Lai. He said in a hoarse voice, and his eyes flickered with a strange light. He smiled evilly and said, If you give everything to me, I will make you a god. In the dim ward, the man's rough voice was like the summoning of a devil from hell. At the same time, Yang Cheng, who had come to the Tang family for dinner, had no idea that someone was digging more and more obstacles for his future. On the way to the Tang family, Yang Cheng also called Kristen in the United States and Ron in Europe. Finally, they decided to let Ron send a world-class manager and artist packaging team to Beijing to be Hui Lin's personal team. After chatting for a while, Ron missed his master Yang Cheng very much. He kept asking Yang Cheng when he would go back, which made Yang Cheng feel ashamed. It took a long time to comfort him. Finally, they arrived at the Tang family's residence. It was not as antique as Yang Cheng had imagined. Instead, it was a collection of modern and elegant villas. Sky Dragon and Yi Zi did not follow him in after sending him there. Tang Tang had been waiting at the entrance for a long time. When she saw Yang Chun, she immediately dragged Yang Chun inside. As she walked, she grumbled, Uncle, when do you plan to give birth to a little Tang Tang with my mother? You saved my mother's life this time. I think she can't wait to repay you with her body. Yang Cheng was speechless. What little Tang Tang? This kind of girl was enough to torment people. He waved his hand and said, No wonder your mother always said that you are unlucky. Can't you be more normal? How can you talk about your mother like that? I'm telling the truth. My biggest strength is honesty, Tang Tang said with a smile. Unlike you, uncle. You are so lustful, but you always pretend to be noble. If it were me, I would have climbed into bed long ago. Climb into bed? Yang Cheng had some fantasies in his mind. With Tang Wan's hot, mature body If she really did some bed exercises, she should be comparable to Catherine's beautiful woman. One must know that according to Tang Wan's experience, she actually had no experience in this area. The taste would be more and more unusual. Thinking about it, Yang Qing almost blushed. He didn't know if Tang Dang really thought this or if she was joking. Could it be that she really hoped that something would happen between him and Tang Wan? Yang Cheng didn't think too much about it. To Tang Tang, other men might not be able to get close to her mother, but Yang Cheng was different. This was because Yang Cheng had first obtained Tong Tong's approval, and only then did he have an emotional entanglement with Tang Wan. And this time, if it wasn't for Yang Cheng, Tang Wan might have left Tang Tang. Therefore, Tang Tang didn't reject this life-saving benefactor as her father. As for Fang Zhongping as her father, although Tang Tang acknowledged him, she didn't have deep feelings for him. After passing by a few villas with unique designs, he realized that the Tang family's area was indeed quite large. However, it was a large family after all. After they started to spread their branches, it was understandable that each family would have their own villa. However, the Tang family members were usually scattered all over Huaxia and even overseas. Not many of them stayed at home, so most of the houses were empty. They went all the way to the most central three-story villa. In the courtyard, there was a round pavilion with a slightly ancient-looking charm. It was brightly lit. A table of banquets was placed in the pavilion, and a few servants were busying about. During the banquet, old Master Tang, Tang Wan, and the others were chatting happily. Seeing that Tang Tang had arrived with Yang Cheng, old Master Tang was the first to stand up. A group of people followed suit and stood up to welcome Yang Cheng. Among them, other than old Master Tang, Tang Wan, and Tang Xian, Yang Cheng was acquainted with Don Huang. There were a few other men and women. They were probably direct relatives of the Tang family, but Yang Cheng had never seen them before. Tang Dang secretly whispered to Yang Cheng, "Uncle, everyone who came today is close to my mother, except for Uncle Don Huang." Yang Cheng smiled. Although Tang Tang was still young, she knew the situation of the two factions fighting in the Tang family. Thinking about it, everyone present, except for Don Huang, were core members of the Tang family who stood on Tang Wan's side. As for Don Huang, although he was competing with Tang Wan, he still had to keep up appearances. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to attend this banquet. Yang Cheng, today is a family banquet. I was afraid that you would feel uncomfortable, so I didn't invite anyone else. You are a distinguished guest of the Tang family. Sit beside me. Old Master Tang smiled and pointed to the seat next to him. It was between him and Tang Wan. Yang Cheng greeted the few members of the Tang family. When he shook hands with Don Huang said sincerely, "Thank you for saving my sister. Let's drink more today." Although he was competing with Tang Wan, Don Huang was magnanimous. Yang Cheng could feel that he was sincerely happy for Tang Wan's return. Perhaps it was this kind of magnanimity that allowed him to compete with Don Huang until now, even though old Master Tang obviously took special care of Tang Wan. After everyone sat down, Tang Wan's uncles and aunts began to toast Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng could not tell who was the eldest. Although old Master Tang's youngest son was Tang Xian's father, he was the third son. But old Master Tang's siblings also had children. In this case, Yang Cheng did not find it strange that there were seventh uncle and ninth uncle. Yang Cheng drank a few glasses in a row. Before he even had a bite, he looked at the sumptuous dishes on the table. Just as he was about to dig in, he suddenly noticed a headache-inducing figure walking towards him. A hearty laughter spread through the courtyard. A young man carrying a large bag of guava walked over with his head held high. At the same time, he shouted to everyone from the Tang family, "I have brought you fruits." Who else could it be but Li Dun? Not to mention Yang Cheng. Even Tang Zhichen, who had been through so much, could not help but twitch his eyes. Li Dun did not treat himself as an outsider at all. He placed the bag of guava that was sold by the kilogram on the ground and laughed. "Everyone is starting so soon? I bought some fruits on the way here. That's why I'm late. But there should still be seats, right?" Although Li Dun rarely appeared in Beijing, it did not mean that people did not know him. He was the grandson of the Li family, one of the two kings of Beijing. But this guy came here with a bag of guava that was only worth 3 to 4 RMB. Wasn't it a little too degrading? More importantly, everyone knew that no one had invited him. The first to react was old Master Tang. He smiled warmly and said, "Since the Li family's kid wants to join in the fun, then we welcome him with open arms. Gifts are too formal. Come, 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 quickly take a seat. Everyone move a little, there are still seats. Housekeeper, get us another set of utensils." Old Master Tang was indeed thick-skinned. It was just a bag of guava, and he still said, "Gifts are too formal." Li Dun did not stand on ceremony. He gestured to the servant and said, Put the chair next to Miss Tang Xian. I know her very well." Tang Xian almost fell to the ground. She looked up angrily and glared at Li Dun. "What's wrong with this guy? He always picked on me at the hospital, and now he wants to sit next to me? Do I have a grudge against him?" Chapter 640. Seeing this, the other Tang family members were puzzled. Tang Xian had always been by Tang Zhichen's side. When did she become so close to the young genius of the Li family? This was something that would greatly increase Tang Xian's status in the family. It was very important to build a good relationship with the Li family. If they could really build a relationship with the Li family through Tang Xian, they would be able to maintain a good relationship with the Li family even after old Master Tang passed away. Among the 4 major families, the Ning family, the most powerful one, had the fastest and smoothest change in the family leader. Ning Guangyao was sitting on Huaxia's throne, so he naturally became the head of the Ning family. Yang Gongming of the Yang family was much healthier than old Master Tang. Although he was not young, he had never been sick or injured. Li Mo's hen of the Li family was much younger, but it was not time for him to be relieved of his responsibilities. Tang Zhichen was the only one who was nearing the end of his life, be it in terms of age or health. Therefore, the core members of the family had always been worried about how to stabilize the position of the Tang family after the death of old Master Tang. It was Li Dun's first time in the Tang family, so he was not familiar with the people present. However, he did not seem to be a stranger at all. As soon as he sat down, he poured a full glass of Mao Dai and toasted a few members of the Tang family who approached him. "Come, it's rare for me to have a meal with all of you. Thank you for not looking down on me. I'll drink first. I'll punish myself with 3 glasses." Li Dun raised his head in a righteous manner and poured a small cup of strong liquor into his mouth. It was at least 2 ounces. Everyone was puzzled. They did not say that he was going to drink as a punishment. "Nephew Li, you must be joking. We wouldn't dare to belittle the young master of the Li family. Moreover, he's one of the twin kings of the younger generation. Since we can have dinner together, it's only right for us to propose a toast." Don Juan acted like the future successor of the Tang family. He stood up and clinked glasses with Li Dun. Li Dun gulped down another mouthful of liquor and grinned. "What do you mean by 2 kings? It's not even as good as a salted duck egg." Suddenly, Li Dun turned to Tang Xian, who had been sitting quietly all this time. "Miss Tang Xian, would you mind pouring me a cup of wine?" Tang Xian was still annoyed, but when she heard Li Dun asking her to pour wine with a smile, she couldn't help but complain, "Can't you pour if you don't have hands?" As soon as she finished speaking, Tang Xian's face stiffened. Sure enough, all the members of the Tang family glared at Tang Xian. Did she eat gunpowder? Didn't they know that this was a rare opportunity to curry favor with the Li family? Usually, Li Dun, the young master of the Li family, was fighting wars all over the world. How could they meet? Even in Beijing, with his eccentric personality, he rarely attended social events. Now that he was here, if Tang Xian messed it up, she would be the center of the Tang family. Unexpectedly, Li Dun was not angry at all. Instead, he smiled and said, Yes, I was being rude. I have hands. I have hands." Everyone watched as Li Dun took the wine bottle and poured himself a cup. "Miss Tang Xian, a toast to you. After I finish, you can drink as much as you want." Li Dun raised his cup to Tang Xian. Everyone in the Tang family could tell that Li Dun seemed to have some special feelings for Tang Xian. Logically speaking, Tang Zhichen should have been the first to propose a toast, but Li Dun was completely focused on Tang Xian. It was as if he was here for Tang Xian as well. Although Tang Xian was unwilling, She still stood up and clinked her cup with Li Dun. Then she took a small sip. But because she was distracted, Tang Xin choked on the strong moutai she drank. Cough, cough. Tang Xin coughed softly. Tears welled up in her round eyes. Li Dun was shocked. He quickly put down his cup and patted Tang Xion's back a few times. He said awkwardly, Miss Tang X, I didn't know you weren't good at drinking. If I had known, I wouldn't have been so rude. I didn't mean to make you choke. Let go of me. Tang Xian suddenly realized that Li Dun was holding her back. Her face burned, and she struggled out of Li Dun's grasp. Li Dun chuckled awkwardly, then turned to the stunned Tang clan members and said, I'm sorry. I'm actually a very serious person. I didn't mean to tease Miss Tang Xian. It's purely out of concern. Yang Cheng, who had been sitting there eating silently, glanced at Li Dun and shook his head with a smile. If anyone couldn't tell that Li Dun was interested in Tang Xian, then that person's EQ was really low. Tang Wan smiled and whispered into Yang Cheng's ear. I didn't expect Li Dun to like Xian Air. I used to worry that Xian Air would have a hard time getting married because she was always with Grandpa. It seems like there's no need to worry anymore. That Li Dun is a bit of a lunatic. Why are you so relaxed? Yang Cheng smiled wickedly. Tang Wan looked at Yang Cheng with disdain. Even a man like you has a woman willing to follow him. Why would I be afraid of someone like Li Dun? Yang Chen asked for a snub, so he pretended not to hear anything and continued to eat and drink. He was here for dinner and wasn't interested in socializing with others. Tang Zhichen watched the scene for a while with a kind smile on his face. When the crowd finally quieted down, he turned to Li Dun and said, Hey, Li Dun, we were supposed to thank Yang Cheng for saving my granddaughter, Tang Wan. But now that you're here, it's like we invited you. You have to apologize to Yang Cheng. Li Dun waved his hand and said nonchalantly, Don't worry, Elder Tang. I know what Yang Cheng is thinking. He only wants to eat and drink. Nothing else matters to him. He winked at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng, who was eating a chicken drumstick, wanted to throw it at Li Dun's face. It seems like you used the excuse of having to drink as a penalty and drank half a bottle of Maodai, right? Yang Chen rolled his eyes, unwilling to be outdone. Li Dun didn't blush. He patted his chest and said, I'm an honest man. Why would I measure a gentleman's heart with your mean measure? You treat people to a noodle shop, and you're worried about gas consumption after dropping off your friend's car. You're more like a mini-human. You're not even close to a villain. All right. Tang Wan couldn't stand it anymore. You two aren't kids anymore. Why are you still bickering? Do you think the Tang family is a kindergarten? Tang Wan couldn't stop them anymore. Everyone in the room was trying their best to hold back their laughter when they heard that Li Dun was treating them to a noodle shop. A few servants even looked at Li Dun strangely, as if wondering why the young master of the Li family was so stingy. Did his family not give him any pocket money? Only Tang Xian sat next to Li Dun. Her head was lowered, but her eyes were full of disdain and sneer. After the boring quarrel between the two men came to an end, Don Juan picked a topic at the right time. He smiled at Yang Cheng and said, Mr. Yang, I heard that you have a close relationship with the Yang family in Yanjing. However, I've only heard some unorthodox news. I wonder if you can tell us tonight. The Tang family is also very curious. The relationship between Yang Cheng and the Yang family had been rumored in Yanjing before Yang Pejuan lost the election. After all, Yang Goming's trip to the south and Guo Xuehua's movements couldn't be hidden from people with ulterior motives. Don Juan asked this question at this time because he wanted to see the relationship between Yang Cheng and the Yang family. He wanted to see the situation clearly before communicating with Yang Cheng. After all, if the Yang family recognized Yang Cheng, then Yang Cheng would be the real first-in-line successor of the Yang family. If the Yang family didn't recognize him, then Yang Cheng would still be a shady character who couldn't be shown in public. Although the people in the room were not interested in Don Juan, they were still waiting for Yang Cheng's reply with a face full of doubt. Yang Cheng chewed on the meat and said, A few days ago, I found my long-lost mother. As for the rest, I have nothing to say. After hearing this answer, the Tang family had a rough idea. It seemed that Yang Cheng and Guo Xuehua were living together. In that case, There was no clear boundary between him and the Yang family. If Yang Gongming didn't want to recognize Yang Cheng, he wouldn't have gone to Zhonghai, and he wouldn't have allowed his daughter-in-law to stay with Yang Cheng. At the thought of this, the Tang family became excited again. Yang Cheng had saved Tang Wan time and time again, so he must have a close relationship with Tang Wan. Perhaps the Tang family could rely on Yang Cheng and form a connection with the Yang family. As for the fact that Yang Cheng was already married, these big families could directly filter it out. Tang Wan's daughter was already so big, she couldn't really get married in a big way. Therefore, even if there was a secret relationship, the Tang family didn't think much of it. Some even thought of Tang Tang and Yuan Yi from the Yuan family of Zhonghai. If they could get married in the future, they would be connected to the Yang family, which would be even happier. Many people were overjoyed. This was really an auspicious day. It seemed that the Yang family and the Li family would have a special relationship with the Tang family. However, no one knew that if Tang Wan really established a relationship with Yang Cheng, Yang Cheng's value would be much greater than the Yang family. Li Dun was not surprised to hear that Yang Cheng was related to the Yang family. The Li family was the one in charge of the security bureau. Li Dun always had first-hand information. However, he didn't care that Yang Cheng was a descendant of the Yang family. Chapter 641. Nothing too ridiculous happened during the rest of the meal. Li Dun tried to talk to Tang Xian from time to time, but Tang Xian only answered him mechanically and politely. She didn't seem to want to talk at all, which made some of the Tang clan members unhappy. Fortunately, Li Dun didn't mind at all. Instead, he became more and more interested in Tang Xian. He kept looking at Tang Xian with sparkling eyes, which made the Tang family members decide to carry out Tang Xian's work and try their best to unite the Li family with the Tang family through marriage. On the other hand, Yang Cheng, who was supposed to thank Tang Xian, didn't get distracted. He only chatted with Tang Wan and Tang Xian and finished the meal quietly. When the banquet was about to end, Li Dun suddenly said to Tang Xian, who was about to stand up and serve Tang Zhichen, "Miss Tang Xian, can we find a quiet place for a moment? I have something to talk to you about." Li Dun didn't hide anything and made his request in front of everyone. Even if Tang Xian hated this man, she could guess that Li Dun was interested in her. Although it was strange, she still blushed. Just as she was about to reject him, she realized that the Tang family members were all giving her looks. Even Tang Zhichen and Tang Wan had expectant looks on their faces. Tang Xian knew that she couldn't reject him forcefully. She just wanted to listen to what he had to say and ignore it. She nodded and said, "Let's go to the garden then." Anywhere is fine. Miss Tang Xian, please lead the way." Li Dun was overjoyed and followed her. After Tang Xian left with Li Dun, everyone wanted to follow them and listen to what Li Dun had to say. However, the Tang family members weren't stupid. They knew that Li Dun was one of the top martial artists in Beijing. If they eavesdropped on him, they would lose more than they could gain. So, they could only arrange for the servants to stay away from the garden for a while. Yang Cheng rubbed his slightly round belly and burped. He stood up and said to Tang Zhichen, "Grandpa Tang, I'll be leaving now. Thank you for your hospitality." After eating, Yang Cheng suddenly remembered that he hadn't decided on a place to stay yet. He would definitely have to wait for a while before he could return to Zhonghai. Not only did he have to wait for Kai Yin to return to the Kai clan, he also had to solve Kai Ning's problem. Of course, after the incident with Yang Lai and Mei Feng, Yang Cheng felt that he should stay at Hui Lin's place longer, at least until Hui Lin's album was released and the concert was completed. Although he was worried about Mo Qianni in Zhonghai, Yang Cheng couldn't spare any time. He could only hope that Ma Guifeng would be more flexible to him. Right now, he had to find a place to stay. He was to ask Zhuang Feng to stay at the branch office. Tang Zhichen did not reply immediately. Instead, he looked at Tang Wan. "Wan you have just recovered. Don't rush back to Zhonghai. Stay at home for a few more days." Tang Zhichen said to Yang Cheng, "Yang Cheng, I think you haven't found a place to stay yet. Why don't you stay at home for a few more days?" Tang Zhichen said to Yang Cheng, "Yang Cheng, I think you haven't found a place to stay yet. Why don't you let Wan accompany you and show you around while she's in Beijing? Otherwise, it's not a good idea for Wan to stay by my side every day." Tang Tang smiled ambiguously and said, Great-grandpa is really good at arranging things. I also think Mom should bring Uncle around. Tang Zhichen pinched his great-granddaughter's nose affectionately and couldn't stop smiling. All the members of the Tang family were on Tang Wan's side, so they were happy to see that Tang Zhichen cherished Tang Wan so much. It would be great if Yang Cheng could spend more time with Tang Wan. If Yang Cheng was just a married man, they would definitely oppose it. After all, no matter how complicated Tang Wan's situation was, she was still one of the heirs of the Tang family. However, Yang Chun was a descendant of the Yang clan. In the eyes of others, it was already confirmed that Yang Chun was a descendant of the Yang clan. It wasn't a big deal for Tang Wan to sacrifice her reputation. The relationship between large clans was a little messy, but if it really succeeded, others would be envious. I'll bring you to the villa that Tang Tang and I live in. It's big enough. I'll arrange a room for you. Tang Wan wasn't a shy woman. She quickly composed herself and walked up to him. Yang Cheng felt goosebumps all over his body when he felt the ambiguous gazes around him. It seemed that he was still relatively pure. He nodded and said, Lead the way. He couldn't wait to get rid of these people. At the same time, in the backyard of the Tang family's house, the streetlights emitted a dim metallic luster. They looked like classical Western art. They shone with a faint white light, illuminating the garden at night. The path was paved with cobblestones. Flowers bloomed on the ground, creating a tranquil and gentle atmosphere under the night sky. Tang Xen, who was dressed in a light yellow dress, pouted. Her oval-shaped face, which was somewhat similar to Tang Wan's, was filled with annoyance. She walked all the way to the center of a quiet, wooden pavilion. Turning around, Tang Xen looked at Li Dun, who had been following her. She sized up the young master of the Li family, one of the two kings of Beijing. He wore a simple short-sleeved shirt and trousers that were similar to that of a working-class kid. His body was well-built, but he didn't look fit at all. Instead, he looked like a laborer who carried bricks all year round. Coupled with the silly smile on his face and one eye covered by a blindfold, he looked like a one-eyed stupid bear. How could someone like this be on the same level as the man she loved? Tang Xien wanted to shoot Li Dun. Speak. What do you want? Tang Xien said coldly. She shifted her gaze away from Li Dun and looked at the flowers. Li Dun smiled awkwardly, but when he spoke, he wasn't shy at all. Miss Tang Xien, I like you. Li Dun confessed. He said it without any warning. Tang Xien turned around. Even though she knew that this guy was interested in her, wasn't this a little too direct? Are you messing with me? Tang Xien said through gritted teeth. Li Dun swallowed and shook his head. Miss Tang Xien, this was the first time I saw you at the hospital. But ever since I got back, I've been thinking about you. Before I came to the Tang family for dinner, I realized that I like you. That's why I came here to tell you. Tang Xien thought to herself, but I can't wait to kill you. She smiled coldly and asked, Like me? Just one look, and you like me? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old who believes in love at first sight? Li Dun said sincerely, Miss Tang Xien, what if I told you that I really did fall in love at first sight? Are you a pig? I don't have time to joke with you. Tang Xien furrowed her brows. Li Dun was unmoved. Instead, he smiled and said, Miss Tang Xien, I'm sure you know that I'm Li Dun, the grandson of the Li family. In other words, the Li family that controls the Huaxia Security Bureau and half of Huaxia Special Forces will be mine in the future. Yes, your young master Li, and I'm just a little concubine from the Tang family. Nobody cares about me. Please don't make fun of me, Tang Xien said sarcastically. Li Dun continued smiling. You see, Miss Tang Xien, you know the difference in status between us. But this is also the reason why I like you. What? Tang Xien was confused. Miss Tang Xien, do you know that all the girls around me, unless they don't know who I am, will do everything in their power to win my heart? They all want to become the mistress of the Li clan. But our Li clan, because of our special background, can only have one mistress. It's dangerous to have more than one mistress. As the head of the Security Bureau, the mistress of the Li family would naturally have access to some secrets, so it wasn't hard to understand Li Dun's words. But Miss Tang Xien, you're very special. This is the first time I've seen a girl who knows who I am. Not to mention that I'm from a noble family, but I can tell that you hate me from the bottom of your heart. You even want me dead." Li Dun's tone suddenly changed, and he continued, "But Miss Tang Xin, you're special." Tang Xin was stunned. She didn't expect Li Dun to see through her so clearly.